Hit that like button and share this stream if you're not a beta male.
Hi, I'm Baraka Solomon. I'm a licensed therapist over 25 years. I'm also a relationship success coach. I work with entrepreneurs, helping them in their relationships and in business. We are at the Four Seasons in Houston, Texas, and we are here for the 4.0 conclave, Manosphere. I'm here actually in a supportive role for all the men that are here. I'm here along with two other women. We were to make sure everybody was registered, everything was in order, and basically to be a support to all of the men here. Yes, there is a movement. There's several movements. I would say it probably started with what we may consider the feminist movement, where the focus was on women and making sure that women knew their rights and that they had rights and that they were able to move and be about as they choose and that they had choices and that they have choices. Now, as it relates to the manosphere, one thing that I've noticed just in my profession and even in just my personal surroundings is the disparity between men issues and women issues and men and women being able to connect.
Why can't this man see his son? Is she a baby mama terrorist or a victim? Here's why men are scared to get in relationships with American women.
Men, are you dealing with issues like this?
Sometimes unsaved men are good men. And if you just live the life, the sanctified wife will sanctify the husband. Ladies, when he's in the shower, go in the shower, get in the shower, and wash his black. I tell you, it'll work.
How would you feel if your first lady dresses this way? In today's video, I want to look at how indecent and worldly dressing has crept into the church. More surprisingly, even first ladies, our beloved pastors' wives, are now dressing in ways that are hard to believe. Recently, I came across a video on TikTok where a lady posted with the caption, "I overheard someone in church say my outfit is inappropriate." In the video, she is pridefully showing how she dressed. The comment section had mixed reactions. Some people supported her, taking advantage of the "come as you are" verse in the Bible, which received many.
We are taught how to cook. We are taught how to rear our children. We are taught how to take good care of that black man. All right, NGT.
I don't chase booty. If I got to chase my wife, then I'm going to have to keep chasing her to keep her.
That's right.
You men that chase women, the moment you start chasing that woman, you're going to have to keep chasing her.
Keep it up.
To keep her. You're going to have to keep it up.
That's right.
And once she see you chasing her, she going to deliberately do things that make you run her down.
That's right.
I chase God.
Amen.
I won't never chase a woman long as I'm black.
No.
And as far as I know, God ain't changing my color.
What happened to wholesome American women? What happened to women that more or less value themselves and value their bodies? In this comprehensive show, we will look at the dynamics between the issues that have caused distress in the current American milieu and why there's an apocalypse and what happened to Catherine and why there's so many Keishas in modern America.
But there was a comment earlier. I wanted to respond to this. Through the Fire podcast said, Miss Kendra, is it good? Oh wait, I gotta see it. Miss Kendra, do you ever have moments when to answer this. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have talked about this several times. First and foremost, I've been talking about this a little lately because I've been doing interviews for after and this. First of all, I love my show. I love this. Right? We're communicating right now via YouTube. All over the world, we're watching, we're giving ourselves a chance at love for someone who might not be in our city. So it's the gift and the curse. So back in the day, let's go to days when marriage was high probabilities. First of all, women didn't have a lot of income, so marriage was like a part of you the old time years ago.
Fire for your mind. Kosher clinician. Aside to become the kosher clinician, the story and the war cry behind the kosher clinician was similar to some of the struggles and the pains I have been through as a man. And some of you men are still going through that right now. There's a philosophical term called an existentialist crisis. Basically, what that means is that you begin to ask yourself the question, why am I existing? What is the purpose of my existence? And I think that's the story of a lot of men that have not been more or less raised or under the tutelage of masculine men. One of the greatest indictments, guys, about the manosphere is that people assert and assume that the manosphere pushes misogyny and hate. But the manosphere is not responsible and was created a silo as an affront to women or black women. But the manosphere was a response to the pain and suffering that many black men were going through and continue to go through as we speak now. Once again, Jericho, we are going through an existential crisis. Our country is in trouble. Some of you are in trouble, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you're not ready to move to higher ground until you get the requisite help that's going to help you become the better version of yourself.
Real men, put the strap down and we can toss them. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician. All right.
There it is.
All right.
Now hit it for me.
And it ain't culture. 7 in hell is what they taught you. We'll put them, and you can pick you back up in young dose. Kosher. Clinician.
All right, stop that. All I want you to say is, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. Say that first, okay?
All right.
All right, you ready?
Start over?
Yeah, start it.
No. Okay, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, and...
If it ain't 7, it ain't culture.
Okay.
Heaven and hell is what they taught you.
Okay, perfect. Do that again, but give me a little attitude. If it ain't 7, it ain't culture.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
And action.
Young heads picking back up in young dolphin. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician. That was cool.
If it ain't 7, it ain't culture. Heaven and hell is what they taught you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up in young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women, clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters, acting like vultures. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
All right, guys, we about to start. I got my dear friend in the house, Sister Broca Solomon is in the house, guys. I got the title, guys, Matrix-minded. And, one would say that Matrix-minded women are part of the great deluge that we have here in modern times. But I'm so honored to have my dear friend Broca in the house. You men that listen to my shows and you remnant women that listen notice that I'm very selective who I bring on my show. Especially hyenas, but there's something special about Sister Broca. I met Sister Broca at the conclave. She was one of the guests that was disseminating the information. She had a beautiful daughter with her. Shannon's girlfriend was there. And one thing, guys, that let me know that this sister was a remnant woman, I asked her a question, just in jest. And I say, what do you see as your purpose for being a wife? And this woman scored 100 points. She said, I live my life to serve my husband. When she said that, I said, yeah, that's a remnant woman. She understands the assignment. Because, see, I came up with a term because I am the kosher clinician. And so if y'all steal my terms, make sure you give me credit for it. But these Negroes will steal your terms, Brock. I won't give you credit. You got the YouTube game is vicious. But there are 2 types of women in the world. There's a woman that's a remnant woman, and then there's a worldly woman. A remnant woman is not a perfect woman. A remnant woman understands that she has a dark nature. A remnant woman understands this unless she grounds herself through faith, discipline, and the things she's been taught by older women, she can always revert back to the dark side. But she chooses to obfuscate the negative traits of her behavior, all for the sake of the mission and the mission of the relationship. So I knew at that point that Sister Broca was a remnant woman. Remnant women are rare. I call them Catherines, like your grandmom and your great-grandmom, they were called Catherines. But the modern woman is Keisha. Keisha is violent. She's wicked. She wants to be promiscuous. She wants a good man after she's given all her virtue to multiple men. And one of the negatives that has occurred, guys, is that people will assert and assume that the Manosphere hate women instead of understanding that the Manosphere was a byproduct of how men were being treated. And because of that, men created safe spaces or safeguards to assuage or minimize some of the stresses they've been through as men. So without further ado, I know it was eloquent. I got my dear sister Broca in the house. Broca, I want you to tell the brothers who you are, why you were so passionate about being an ambassador at the Manosphere, and what you learned from the Manosphere and what you thought you knew about the Manosphere really was a fallacy.
Well, I'll start by saying I can't say I had a particular thought about the Manosphere. However, the reason I was in support of the Manosphere is because I'm in support of our men
Yes,
because
ma'am.
I'm in
Right.
support of families.
Right.
I have a husband myself, and we have 5 offspring together. And out of the 5 offspring, we have 1 son
Mm-hmm.
who's in the middle. And
Mhm.
so we're very, what's the word? Very involved, and we care about our legacy and the legacy that's been passed on to our next generation. And we
Right.
want to make sure my son is surrounded by great men. So
Mhm.
I just believe the way to have family and community, you can't, from my perspective, you can't have it without men. So anytime I can play a role where I'm involved and I can help, I'm all in favor.
Well, it's rare to hear a woman that gets it. But let me ask you a question. Were you always a remnant woman, or did you evolve? That's number one. Were you always a remnant woman, or did you evolve? That's number one. That's question number one. And then question number two, when did you realize that what you were doing was wrong and you began to change your behavior?
Let's start by evolve.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I remember dating my husband in college. And when I learned the assignments for women, which was women, submit yourselves unto your own husbands
Yes,
as
ma'am.
unto the Lord.
Yes,
See,
ma'am.
before I
Right.
met my husband, I had a devout relationship with the Creator. So I wasn't letting
Excellent.
anything interfere.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Right.
so I understood that. Understood the relationship between God and man. But in terms of fully understanding the relationship between man and woman, I can't say I had that. And then for the Creator to match it up and say, as you love me, as you submit to me, submit unto a man.
Right,
So
right.
when I learned about that, it brought tears to my eyes. Okay.
It brought
I
tears.
said, what?
Right.
Now, what
Right.
made that palatable for me is it did not stop there,
Right.
because then it said, husbands, love your wives.
Right.
So then I realized that it's a dance. It's where
dance,
the
right.
woman has a responsibility, but so does the man.
Yes,
And
right.
when we're
right.
both in harmony, then
Yes.
it works perfectly.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I
Right.
believe marriage is by God's design.
Yes.
So I would have to say I evolved.
You evolved. Right.
Not only
right.
did I evolve, something that many people may not know is I was raised in a single parent home.
Mm.
I was raised in a single parent home. I saw, even though I desired for my mom and dad to be together, I was raised in a single parent home. I saw the struggle, the single parent struggle. Now, in this scenario, I was my mom's right hand because I'm from a family of, there are 6 children. There are 3 boys, 3 girls, but there was a boy, and then I'm the first girl. And then 9 years, and those were all by my mom, by my father, which was wed to my mother. So
Right.
although they were wed, they just didn't make it and didn't make it early. Now, under me, there is a brother who's 8 years younger, and then twin sisters who are 9 years younger. So I was my mom's right hand. She was a devout educator. She was able to go and get her hustle on because I welcomed it. See, when my twin sisters were born and my brother, I was a teenager or about 9, 10. I loved having babies. I love, that was like the best thing, like a real life baby doll. So I was my mom's right hand in terms of looking after them, making sure they ate, they were fed. And so she was able to go out and get her hustle on. So, but nonetheless, I was impacted by single parenthood. And so I desired something different. I did not want that. So in the desiring of something different, I knew it mattered who I married.
Right. Right.
And then there goes the story. It mattered who I married.
It mattered who you married. Go to the second part about you evolving.
Well, I would say the evolution was from the beginning was the evolution before I was wed. But then I would say even greater as we were wed, because we've been married now going on 32 years this June 5th.
Right.
Year 6, after we conceived my firstborn or our firstborn, that's when all hell broke loose. That stuff is real about emotions, hormones. I was a different person. Now, my husband was a stabilizer and he was from a stable background. This man knew what he wanted. and he never wavered. So I would say my evolution came from seeing how he loved me.
Right.
So much.
Yes,
Even
ma'am. Right.
in my dark times.
Yes.
You know, once I got through those dark times, guess what? I was in competition because I really appreciated it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would say I really learned to love by my husband.
That's powerful, you know, and shout out to my dear sister Bashur. She said, my understanding is that the man is making the greatest sacrifice and that he loves his wife so much that he will lay down his life for her. Knowing this, it will behoove every woman to be submissive. And I agree with this such a 1,000,000%. Women don't understand, Sister Braca, that men have the greatest honor and the greatest sacrifice, which is to lay down his life. That's called agape love. Greater love have no man is this, that he will lay down his life for a friend. And, you know, women just think men come off man trees. You know, they can just pick a man, you know, they can give all their virtue to Raekwon, Man, and Day. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, a good man is supposed to come along and take all your baggage, all your emotional baggage, and all your virtue is gone, and he's supposed to treat you special. But see, what's happening, once again, the manosphere is an affront to men calling out and being frustrated with dating in modern times. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. Some of the interventions that I've used in the past is predicated on Dr. Wim Glasser. Dr. Wim Glasser created a term called reality therapy. It's a psychoanalytic concept, Sister Braca. And Dr. Glasser said something that was very profound. He said that there are 5 elemental principles that impact human behavior. He said it was power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. Those are the 5 elemental principles. When a man does not have any or all of those 5 elements in unison, then he goes to what's called an existentialist crisis. So many times people assume that, oh, you know, they hate women, they just incels, and, you know, they fat. No, it's a bunch of polished, distinguished black men in the manosphere. You saw them yourself. You were down there. You saw them polished black brothers, well built, you know, educated, money. And so men are saying, listen, you know, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. The man's job is to find a woman that's going to meet his program. But see, the modern woman thinks by default, Braca, that because she has a vagina alone, that's sufficient enough for a man. But no, I'm teaching men that, listen, that ain't enough. There are women abroad that would treat men better. And sadly, it's not enough remnant women like you, Bashur, and many others. It's not enough. And so what men are beginning to say, they'll say, you know what? I've tried, but what am I getting if I decide to settle down with the typical modern woman? A woman that's been severely used by multiple men. She don't have children. She got children. You know, that's what we say in the South. She got a bunch of children. You know, she don't conduct herself. She doesn't comport herself like a woman. She's combative. She wants to lead the relationship. And masculine men ain't gonna put up with that BS. They just not gonna put up with it. They ain't gonna put up with it. And so because men are beginning to become indifferent or apathetic, it's causing a chasm in dating. You and I, Sister Braca, are Gen X. I will argue, Braca, that Gen X was the greatest generation. Now, that's just my argument. You and I, Braca, we grew up during the time, Sister Braca, when music was music. Gospel music was good. Even secular music was good. You know, we had the fly hairstyles. Some of the greatest inventions came out for Gen X. I think we were even more savory, like you think about yourself. You were a latchkey kid. I wasn't a latchkey kid. But you and I had the balance of having the old school. Like we remember, standing up during the Pledge of Allegiance. We remember singing different songs and creeds. We remember when the TV station went off at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
You and I remember that. We remember 8-bit Nintendo and Super Mario Brothers and Tecmo Bowl. You know, some of the greatest hip hop was around our generation. Some of the greatest gospel. So you and I remember a time when things were normal. I would even argue that women were a little better. Gen X women weren't perfect. Gen X women were doing their dirt behind the cover. But I will argue that they were better than the typical modern woman now because, you know, having a bunch of bodies was, it was a no-no. I'm not saying they weren't doing it, but it was shameful. They didn't wear bonnets. You know, they didn't let themselves go. Gen X women had swag. Now, some of the Gen X men sometimes simped too much, but the women were better women, even though the men were simping. And so, you know, it hurts me to see what men have to deal with, like your son. You know, I would love for my daughter to find a son like your son. My daughter's 19 years old. She's a virgin. She's in school. She's in college. No kids. And you know, I want her to find a good man like you got. And you know, who knows? Maybe you know, they might try to leave something. You know, we never know. But it's a different world, Braca, and men are beginning to wake up. So let's talk about the remnant woman. And I'm gonna go through some things real quick. And guys, do my favor, share this stream. This is a very important stream. I got my dear friend Sister Braca in the house, and they know, sister, I don't bring a lot of women on my channel. So you are special. If you come on my channel, that means I deem you as being special. So count it an honor. But I want to show you guys something. This is the psychology of a remnant woman. She is aware of her dark nature, and we're going to talk about that, Sister Braca. She is aware of her dark nature. She knows that she have a dark nature. She knows that she could be manipulative. She knows that unless she pray and give her flesh over to the Spirit of God, she can be this like Keisha. But a remnant woman is a woman on her knees praying and asking God to give her guidance. Her mission is her family and her husband. Her father, her faith grounds and sustains her. She's emotionally mature, and that's something that's very important, Sister Braca. She's emotionally mature, and she has been socialized to be a wife. That's part of being a remnant woman. And she has a mindset of a warrior. Those are the first 7. What do you think about those that I unify? Let me put this banner down so you can see it. But what do you think about those 14 traits that I identified in remnant women, the psychology of a remnant woman? What do you think about that? The first 7, I'm sorry.
Well, the one that stands out from the top for me is her mission is her husband and family.
Right.
Period. And that's my mission. Her faith grounds and sustains her. Mm-hmm. Emotionally mature. Emotionally mature is something people grow in. You know, it's not like you've arrived. Mm-hmm. She have been socialized to be a wife. Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, when I look at wife or husband, I look at it as a role. And that's why, from my perspective, I think of school. The things that we're good at is because that's where we put our time. Mm-hmm. So in terms of socialized, basically educated. You have to be educated. You have to be taught. And that's why even scripture says the older women are to teach the younger women how to love younger women. Yes. How to do this and how to do that.
Yes,
so
ma'am. I agree.
Education. Right. She's a seeker of truth and a mindset of a warrior. Yes, I agree with that.
You agree with those, right? No doubt. And then the second one is she submits, she respects her body, and she's cool. Now, listen, I want to share something, Sister Braca.
I didn't see that side. Okay.
Yeah. She respects her body. She's very cool. She takes accountability. She understands her role. She surrounds herself with like-minded women, and she is health conscious. How would you respond to that?
I would say absolutely. And the thing is, look, I believe in even expanding it. This ought to be for everybody, but that's cool with the remnant women. But to have success, these are principles. Now, these are principles for success. So yes, for sure. She respects her body. She takes accountability. Yeah, she understands her role. Yeah, this is what success looks like, period.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. And, you know, Jay Shaw, you're right. And you're right. In theory, you're correct. And I'm going to prove my point. The truth is you guys submit to one another. I was with my wife for 41 years and we worked as one because we could. That's true, but here's the difference about the submission of a woman versus submission of a man. It's not the same. You're correct that we submit ye to one another, but a woman's submission to her husband is different than a man's submission to his wife. The submission of the man is predicated in love, protection, provision, and guiding his wife. But the man never submits to the authority of the woman. That's the difference, and that's where some women struggle with at. The woman's job is to submit to the authority of the husband, but the way the husband submits, he submits by loving his wife, protecting her, and dying. It's a duality, and it's a symbiotic relationship, but it looks different in formation. But you said something that was very powerful that it's been my sentiment for a while, Sister Braca. It's really a dance. It's a catch-all phrase called a melange. A melange is like an amalgamation or a melding of mellows together, and you guys become one. You begin to think like your man. You begin to act like your man. Y'all take on the same machinations and the same mannerisms, and you know how you could predict what your husband's gonna say before he even say it because you realize that you guys are one. When did you know that Chief was going to be your husband? When did you know that I'm gonna marry this man?
Oh, this is when junior year in college, Chief took me out and we ate this all professional. He's very what's the word? Just business savvy. So he took me out. We went to a restaurant and he talked to me about his intentions and wanted to marry me. He did not come out with a ring. Will you marry me? It was none of that. It was all business.
It was all
and
business.
So what I told Chief is, I said, Chief, I'm honored. I said, I need to hear from my God. I said, so if you could please, because he was we met in college freshman year, but I transferred the second year. The second year, he was at my school so frequently, they thought he was a student.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I asked Chief after the dinner, I asked him, okay, if he would just like stay away for a minute, let me really hear from God. And I prayed about it and I asked God to show me in a dream. And so when I was, because see, this was the thing. I did not rely on my own ability to see my future.
Right.
But remember, I had a devout relationship with my creator at that time and even now. And so I relied on him because I know I'm limited, but I know he's unlimited. He's my future. So I relied on someone unlimited, especially being that there were no marriages in my family for generations.
Right. Oh, wow.
For generations. Okay. There were marriages, but they were all short term, right? So I needed more than me. And so once the creator revealed to me that, yes, it's a go and it was confirmed, oh, that's when I knew. And then that's when and even though I knew, I can't say I had all this head over heels love for Chief. I love Chief. Still, see what happens in a lot of relationships is when you have had previous experiences.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
It can create an expectation. Right. So I knew it was okay. I knew I liked him. I loved him, but there was still something greater that I desired. Right. But I moved forward because I knew I had the okay with God. And then all those other pieces came together in time. But that's when I knew.
Yes, ma'am. Did you and Chief both date incessantly? And if you guys both did date before y'all got together, was there a type that you dated, you and him both, or not necessarily?
Well, I'll tell you, Chief did not date a lot. Chief was serious. Chief, in the time that most people get 1 4-year degree, Chief had 2.
Oh, wow.
So he had 2 4-year degrees in a matter of 4 years.
That's impressive.
Worked full time, new car. Chief was focused. Chief wasn't the dating type. Chief was the one that wanted a wife. And he knew he needed to get married young because once he built his wealth, he already knew it would have been really hard for anybody. So he had the mindset he wanted to do things and start off young where we could grow together and develop together.
Yes,
so no,
ma'am,
he didn't. Now I did. I was actually in a 3.5 relationship in high school, right? So, but I didn't date a lot. But that was the totality of my dating. So no, we know that was different. That was different. We didn't have the same as it relates to our experience with dating. It wasn't the same. But Chief wasn't playing no games. He wasn't playing no games.
He wasn't playing no games.
He wasn't playing any games. And there were so many women who had, he didn't have their eye, but they had his eye, so to speak. But he wasn't interested. If it wasn't quality, Chief just wasn't a part of it.
I respect that. I respect that. And I think more Gen X men in part were like that. You know, Ron, I want you to tell the audience, because they've been getting mad at me, and I'm gonna have to clip this. But no, I'm being serious, Brock. We're gonna keep it 100.
Okay, we'll keep it 100.
I want you to tell the audience what it was like for a woman to have had children out of wedlock when we were teenagers, but also a woman that was ran through. Was that woman venerated, or was she shamed or more or less minimized? I want you to tell the audience what you remember, because see, the reason why I'm so passionate about this, Brock, because you and I remember a time when women were better. I'm not saying they were perfect, but they were better. What do you remember about women growing up in St. Louis that, you know, had children out of wedlock, or they were promiscuous? What do you remember about those women as a teenager?
I'll tell you this, because actually, I think it had to do with the neighborhood in which I was reared. Because actually, when I was in high school, my high school had a daycare for the children of the students. And so what I actually saw was a sense of status, because they were getting checks. They're young, but they got, quote, money from the government. So I saw a sense of pride, even though they were all single parents and
Right.
having multiple children in high school. So that's what I saw personally.
Okay, that's
However,
fair.
as it relates to just the sin nature, people tend to not be so out and forward with what they were doing as they are today.
Right. They don't have a what you call it, how can I say it? They don't have a filter anymore. Anything goes. And the thing that baffles me is that they think the top tier men want to take them serious for a wife. I've always said, I think I told you, you and I would laugh. I said, if I ever get married again, which I'm planning to, not in America, I'm going abroad, Brock. I'm gonna get me something young, tight, and dynamite, man. I'm going to the mother. I'm gonna get me something young, tight, and dynamite, sister, bro. I'm going. It ain't gonna be in America either. I'm going to the motherland. I probably go to Africa or South America or Asia, but it won't be American because it's hard to find women that understand the assignment, but they are serious about serving their husbands. Let's talk about the pathology of the mind, Sister Broca, where you hear women say, if they serve that man, that makes them a slave. Let's talk about that, and then we're gonna also talk about what's called the mammy complex, because I'm sure they've harassed you and disrespected you. They call you mammy, slave, and Sister for sure they call her that the same thing. But what do you think about this negative connotation about serving your man, cooking him a meal, and not understanding that keeps your man motivated? But go ahead.
Well, what I would say is, if there is any negative connotation about building up what's yours, then you just have to think about it. Because once you're one, if you are elevating another, you're elevating yourself. So I serve my man all the time. And I do agree, when I go out, I'm usually the only woman serving my husband.
Wow.
Yes. But I love serving my husband.
Love serving your husband, right?
But you know what? My husband serves me too.
He serves you too, right?
Yes. But for sure, my husband ain't standing in no lines for no plate. No, he has me, and I'm delighted. Listen, it's been 31 years. No, going on 32. Do you know, even when I cook food, do you know I'm still looking at him for his smile of approval? I want to know it's good.
Right.
I want to know it's good to you.
Right,
but see, listen, this is it, right?
Right.
My husband, because there are different types of marriages, right? You have the where people are more mono or poly, right? Well, I just believe I'm it. So I want to be it. Right? I can play all the roles. I want him to be full and fulfilled and only have his eyes on me. So
Right. Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna play with you. I'm gonna joke with you.
I love it.
But let's say if because I agree with you. I tend to there are some faiths that believe in polytheism. I mean polyamory. I don't necessarily believe that, but it is what it is. But let's say that you was with a wealthy man. He said, "I want to have multiple wives." Could you handle it?
Most likely not. First of all, you have to know I'm really spoiled.
Okay,
We've been together like 35 years.
35 years, yes, ma'am.
So I can't, but I do believe in it. So I say it's up to that contract. Now, don't pull me in 10, 15 years down the line and you're saying you want this or that. That's not part of the contract. But if people are upfront with people, I just think to each his own, just all that hiding, cheating, dishonesty, lack of trust, betrayal of trust, just not acceptable. But if people can be forthcoming in what they want, first know what you want. Chief knew what he wanted. He was able to express it. He was able to cultivate it. He walked in it, and he didn't wait for me to walk in it. Any changes Chief has made, he just make it. And then I see he done made a change. And then I'm like, I ain't leaving me over here, and I hop and I make some adjustments myself.
So you're gonna make some adjustments.
Like, you have to do this. I remember when Chief stopped eating pork. Chief didn't say you all can't eat pork or don't buy pork. Chief didn't do that. Chief just stopped eating pork. Next thing you know, I stopped eating pork. Next thing you know, I stopped purchasing it. Next thing you know, nobody eats pork.
Right, respect. I respect
He's
that.
the joy first leader. So
So that's really what I would say to that.
Let's talk about the pathology of not understanding the assignment and some of the things you've been through as a woman. But before we get into that, let's look at some of the psychology behind that, Baraka. It's called a projection based on pain. Many times women project onto other women like yourself that have a husband because it's a projection based on pain. Sometimes it's a projection of trauma. It can be a projection of ignorance, a projection of indoctrination. And I got a colleague of mine that came up with a term called relationship capitalism. What that means is that a man should use the best resolve possible to find the best woman on the market. But sadly, Brock, with so many men growing up in single-parent homes, they tend to over-identify with women. It's a psychological condition called introjection. And so relationship capitalism tells young men, your son and other men, listen, you want to find the best woman on the market that can suit your needs. Ideally, a virgin or low bodies, no children, and she's wife ready. That's ideal. We know that it's hard to find, but that's ideal. But there's a word that I created, Brock, that seems like everybody on YouTube is using. They probably stole it from me, called hoflation. Just like you got inflation, you got what's called hoflation. And basically what it means is you got women that are, been ran through and used up by a lot of men, and they want to set demands on what they want in a man instead of being grateful. You are what you are. And so women are born with their value. Men have to earn their value through time. Now, of course, a status like height and looks play a role, but most women want to be provided for and protected. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And so hoflation has led to manflation. Manflation says that men are saying, you know what, enough is enough. I want the best of the best women that I can get. If you don't meet my standards, that's why the manosphere has become burgeoning. You can't be with me in a relationship. And then now, because of that, it's led to what's called manflation have led to hopeflation, where women are coming back and saying, wow, I hope they will accept me because of my torrent past. And so, anytime men begin to say, Brock, they got standards, women can say, oh, he got to be tall, he got to be good looking, he got to make me 6 figures, 6-pack, 6 inches. Okay, that's her standard. But when a man say what he wants, you're misogynist, you hate women, your mama black. Goofy-ish. That makes me angry, Brock, and women don't understand, Brock, that when, we remember a time that he who finds a wife. So this like the bride prepare herself for the bridegroom, women were to prepare themselves to be betrothed by their husband. Ideally, the father's job was to groom the daughter so that she can be prepared for the bridegroom. The bridegroom was the husband. The father was to groom her to be a wife for the husband. And then the father was supposed to have a conversation with the son-in-law, and they sit down and see if they have the same value system. And then the father give the daughter over. But see, children now are very disrespectful. They don't understand the assignment. They don't even know their place. They mean well, but they have a form of godliness, and they deny the power thereof. A man is not supposed to take a daughter outside the home of the father unless they sit down and they talk and they have a conversation as men, because God will never go outside his word. Even men that say God has given them a revelation, God's word will always confirm itself instead of going against itself. So a man's job is to sit down and once that daughter finds a man that she like, the father's supposed to vet him to make sure that man is sustainable and he's going to carry on the same mission that the father have, and then he give the daughter over. And then the husband continues the grooming process under the auspices of her new husband. But nowadays, because so many women are rebellious, they don't listen, they don't take male leadership, they want to do what they want to do. And the scripture was clear, Brock. It said that sin came through the woman, it didn't come through the man. And then the Bible said because of one woman, one man, so many have to suffer. I teach men this. And, I don't live in the faith like I used to, Brock. I would be a hypocrite if I sit up here and told you guys I did. I don't. I still believe in the teachings of the Messiah. I believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's what I believe. Do I always apply it? No. I got some demons I'm still working on, so I'm just being honest. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I promise you I won't, because that wouldn't be right. But I know the ways of God. I taught Sunday school. I studied apologetics in my youth, and I had an ideal of what I wanted. But I realized those times have long passed. And so, nowadays, it's hard to find remnant woman. I was impressed when I met your beautiful daughter, and we had a conversation, and she was she went out there like a lot of girls. She was very punctual. She was I don't know about the zodiac, but she's an Aries. She said, well, where's your sticker? I'm like, you talking to a young lady. I'm a Leo. You don't talk to me like that. And you talking to a king. You talking to a king. But she was so punctual, but at the same time, she was very direct. But you and your husband have done a great job raising her. And I don't think people understand a daughter that like you got, she's rare. She's the kind of woman that if a man can afford to pay all the bills, if he can afford it, he should pay it. I would say a woman like that deserves a man that at least strive, because it's hard to pay all bills in this culture. But if you can do it, if she's wife ready, no kids, and a virgin, then that man should strive to pay a large portion of the bills. Yes. He should strive to love her, cover her, protect her, because she's met the mandate of being a virtuous woman. But you got women that's, and I'm not saying that God can't give those women grace. Hear what I'm saying. There have been some good women that made mistakes. They learned from it, and they're better women. Okay, fine. But understand that where God might forgive you, the man that you want might not accept you. And they don't understand that dichotomy. I used to jokingly say, Broca, you're going to laugh at this. I said, your soul might be saved, but that cat's still a sinner. That cat is still standing, Broca, in the need of prayer. So your soul is saved, but that cat is a sinner. You got women trying to go back and be virgins again. You can't be no born again virgin. There's no damn such thing as no born again virgin. Once that cat been touched, your values start going down. And see, women don't understand, Broca, and this is going to be powerful. There's a succinct difference between sexual market value and social market value. Here's the difference. Sexual market value is predicated on your ability to maintain your virtue, which is your virginity, and keeping your body count low or being a virgin. You being wife ready and you being willing to follow a husband. That puts you in a higher echelon. Now, there are some dusty, broken men that don't know how to treat a woman like that. They will mess a woman up like that. But I'm talking about serious men like how Chief was serious. I'm talking about men that were raised with a faith mindset. That's a rare woman. She's rare. So when you find them, you treat her well. But it's hard to find women like that, Broca, and it's becoming harder in America. How do you keep your baby grounded and keep yourself grounded in a culture that no longer values what once was a standard? It was just a standard back in the day, Broca, to be a virgin and to not have kids out of wedlock and be a wife. It was just a standard. It wasn't no big deal. It was just the norm. Yes. But now men gotta pay more than what their grandfathers and great grandfathers paid for. My mom was a virgin when she got married. My grandmama was one too. That was just the norm back then. But now you got women that got all this baggage, and they expect a man to give them he got to have at least my ring got to be at least 1% of his salary. And please, you should be grateful if you get a man to pay 50% of your bills or 60% of your bills. Don't meet a hip down making those standards, and you don't even meet the virtues or the qualifications of what women were years ago. How would you respond to that? Go ahead.
Well, basically how Chief and I have shepherded ours, really it's been more controlled or limited outside influences. Right. We homeschooled all the way. We have several family members that homeschool. So there's a very strong cousin culture. That's one big thing. Then two, probably the biggest thing is the example we live before them. I would say that's the biggest, because they know you and you can't fool kids. So the harmony and peace they see is genuine. They see it's real. So one, I would say the examples we are, and then two, the environments we have put them in. So that's what I would say. But we have 4 girls and 1 boy, and our son is in the middle. So we have a lot that we're raising, with virtue and the dynamic. And as you mentioned, the dynamic about how it used to be when a young man was interested in a woman, he went to the father. See, Chief went to my dad. He went to my dad and he did it like that, right? My dad at the time when we got married. So but sometimes people not doing that these days. They don't do it right. I heard some young man say to somebody, "You grown, like you don't need anybody."
Right, there you go. They say regrown, and you know what? That is so true. You being grown does not supersede your responsibility to honor that father and not to damn take his daughter for under his covering.
I don't care if you are grown.
Yes.
That man can see something. The father many times can see what the daughter might can't see. It's called spatial reasoning. That's part of the provision of a man.
Yes.
So you being grown does not supersede God's order. You can talk about Jesus all day. You can talk about how I love the Lord all day. You don't, a person's being grown and them saying they love God, you might love God, but you are ignorant to the word of God when it comes down to order.
Yes.
As a true man of God is going to always, unless they're ignorant to the faith and they're growing in the faith, will always consult with the Father because that's the right thing to do. Yes. You can't pray yourself out of God's order. You can talk about Jesus all day till you blue in the face, but God is clear. If you go back to the Old Testament and even the New Testament, you being grown, really a woman was supposed to leave home, Sister Brock, until the father gave her away. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, I think that's fantastic. That's more along the lines of what we're doing. And it actually amazes people. They can't believe our girls, they work, they're responsible, they're independent, and nobody's in a hurry to leave. So people do kind of look at them like something must be wrong. I would have my own. I would have done this. I would have done that. So it's just different cultures. I'm just really happy that we've been able to impact our next generation. And even with that, which is why the program I'm doing, because I am concerned for their mates. With the quality and the time we put into them and continuously. I am wondering who else is doing that. Who's going to be matched up with them? You know, that's going to matter. So yeah, I have concerns for that. So that's why I'm starting a program where, you know, we can make sure people are minimally trained in certain relationship success skills and then just put them in a pool together and then, you know, let nature have its course. But at least people are minimally trained and have worked through traumas, you know, and things like that. But yeah, I'm really concerned for our generation. But we're talking about young people who are happy, wholesome, contributors, cooperative, happy, you know? So I'm grateful.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to my dear friend, Sister Crimson. Crimson is a heavy hitter in YouTube. She does work similar to what she's doing. She recently got married, I think a year ago. Good sister. I respect her highly. You know, she has a book that's been written. She even have a book where she talks to women about, you know, maintaining their femininity, maintaining their virtue. And, you know, I think a lot of folks, Sister Broca, are struggling because they're not used to seeing men come out and say it loud. And let me tell you something. The Manosphere has changed a lot of that, Sister Broca. The Manosphere has changed a lot of that. The Manosphere has started telling men, listen, you don't have to settle for mediocrity no more. We're going to start going back and start demanding what we want from women. If you don't meet my standards and meet my criteria, you will be singing that song by Patti LaBelle on your own. Because you know, it ain't gonna be no easy for rape where you just think you're gonna slide in after you have given all your virtue away. We're not saying that God can't forgive you. We're not saying that God can't heal you from your past. I'm not saying that. But the thing I never understood was this, Broca. People say the past don't matter. That's one of the dumbest things I ever heard because the past does matter. And I'm gonna prove my point. If you go to a university, Broca, you try to get into Duke University, they'll say, Sister Broca, what is your academic past? Am I right or wrong?
Yes, correct.
If when you and Chief go, let's say Chief wanted to go get a loan to start a bigger business, they're going to ask Chief, they're going to say, what is your financial past? When you go to the pastor or the priest, he's going to say, what is your spiritual past? So if all of those people meet a criteria and marriage and family is greater than all, then how much should a man say, woman, what is your sexual past? But somehow they think, oh, you know, that's in the past, you know, you're bringing up my past. No, sweetheart, I am going to bring up your past because I got to vet you to make sure you meet my standards. And she got the right to know my past too. If I don't meet her standards, then we don't have to be together either. I don't have a problem with that, you know. But what women don't understand is that male sexuality is not the same as female sexuality. And it goes back to what I was saying about social market value versus sexual market value. Women tend to conflate social market value, meaning I got my doctorate, my master's, and my bachelor's. You know how some women do, Broca, when they get these advanced degrees, they don't say my doctorate. They add a little twist to it. They say my doctorate. I got my doctorate. my doctorate. Look, Broca, hold on, Broca. My doctorate, my master's, and my bachelor's. They got to add emphasis to it. And so they think because they got their doctorate, their master's, masters and their bachelors and their masters, they think that alone equates to them being ready for a man. But most men don't care about your doctorate, your masters, or your bachelors. Most men, where there's some men don't care, they care about your sexual past, they care about your ability to conform and to respect male leadership. They care if you got children by other men, if they're masculine men. But see, the standards have been so low now because so many of these men are being born in single parent homes. Men don't demand anything no more. You know, she can have children by multiple men. She can be ran through by multiple men. And men that got low self-esteem, they were raised by the mamas, they over-identify, do interjection, and they take those women. But what they don't understand, a masculine man, listen, even if a man, Brock, could say he had a bunch of women, most women are not going to look, if you met a man, and let's be real, if you met a man and he told you, yeah, Brock, listen, before you, I had my share of women, you might not like it, but some women can look past that if that man, some women can, I would say most women can, if that man is a good provider, he's a good protector, he's handsome, because women tend to want the man that most other women want. Women don't want a man that no other woman don't want. So she could probably look past it a little bit. But if that woman has done the same thing because of the sexual revolution, and say that man been with 20 women and that woman been with 20 men, that most men ain't gonna be able to handle that. They ain't gonna say, no, we can't. They ain't gonna be singing no Al Green, Let's Stay Together. No, we gotta move on because men are not wired to accept that. Just like there are women now, Sister Braca, they have slept with women. There are a lot of women in modern times that are bi-curious. But let a man say he's been bi-curious. Most women can't accept it, but some men can. And the reason why, because men and women have a struggle with the person they love being penetrated. They just can't handle it because their minds are not wired to accept the fact that somebody else inserted themselves into the person that I love. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Shout out to my man Gregory Scott. He said, salute culture. He said, there are just too many hyenas in the United States. The black community and family is dead in the U.S., Canada, and the United Kingdom. I agree with that 100%. And shout out to my dear friend, Sister Crimson Cure, all just for the love. And she said, yes, she said, I haven't forgot about you, good brother. No doubt, sis, love and respect you. Thanks for showing love. But I'm going to get into the manosphere. We talked about this negative thing called the manosphere. What was your perception of the manosphere, Brock? I know you talked about it briefly a little bit, but what was your perception about the manosphere? And then we're going to get into the video that you did recently, too.
Well, I loved it, totally. Mm-hmm. I loved it because I love our families. I love our communities. I love our men. So I loved it to see all these men come together and working on themselves. See, the reason why Chief and I have the success we have is due to our development. Right. And to see men developing themselves and they're the leaders. Oh, man. Yes, I'm looking forward to next year being there and being a supportive staff. I'm encouraging everybody come out. I don't get any kicks backs or whatever from promoting it, but I'll just let you know 7 of my family members are already registered. 7 men.
Oh wow!
Young men, my young nephews, and my brother, my husband, my son. We have 7 already who are already paid and ready to go for next year.
Right.
So, but no, I'm definitely in favor, looking forward to it because it's all about building up our men, their images, their fitness, their business, socially, investments wise, and just the men coming together because there's a synergy. And I personally believe men that are melanated men, they're beat down a lot. Right. And it's not, even with Chief and I, certain things he'll make sure I do or lead because as soon as they see the melanated man, they want to give him some slack. They want to make it difficult and hard, whereas it's difficult and hard for me. So our men are beat up, but that's because they're really on the top, but it's always something to go against them and want to suppress them. But I'm not in favor of that because, listen, if they are suppressed, then the women are suppressed. If the women are suppressed, the children are suppressed.
The children are suppressed, right.
I saw something on like a little TikTok thing, and this mother was pleading for her son before the judge. She was in tears. She was shaking. And she told the judge, give me one more, give me a time. Like, you just give him probation and I'm gonna make sure I'm right there. I'm gonna make sure he don't do nothing. And she looked to her son and said, boy, you gotta act right. I didn't raise you like this. And her whole heart wasn't in the judge. I can feel what the judge felt, and it wasn't good. She felt sorry for that mother. But you know what I looked at? You know what I said? I said, what's missing is the father.
The father, right.
The father is what's missing. That's the problem. So no, I just think the families are broken because the fathers aren't present, and the fathers aren't present because things are broken, and men a lot of times have been pressed down and oppressed as though they're not needed or they're not important, and that's furthest from the truth. Now, I can say being a wife and mother, a mother for 25 years, a wife for going on 32 years.
32, right.
Men and women, we're different. Our nature is different. Even our discipline is different. Even with me, I have this high-pitched voice. You know, that's just me and my femininity. That's just my nature. My husband is not. It's different. And so it's sad, but we need our men. And anybody with a child, or especially a son, but a child period, but especially a son, make sure that father, make it easy for that father to be a part of that boy's life, that young man's life.
Right.
You're hurting and killing yourself.
You're killing the son, right? And here's a caveat to that. Right, you made a very valid point. There's this misnomer or a blatant fallacy that black men are not being fathers and is impregnating women and running away from their responsibility. That's a fallacy, and I'm gonna prove my point.
Yes, that's a fallacy.
Overall, there's a percentage of black men that are doing that. I call them the Raekwons, the man, the Days. Some of them are also white collar and blue collar men too. But by and large, most black men are childless, single, don't have kids. But there's been a false assertion in the media that's been promulgated by liberals and also promulgated by Keishas of the world that black men are making babies and, you know, black men don't take care of their kids. But then they've done studies that say black men take care of their kids more than anybody, any other ethnic group. But they don't talk about that. They tend to overgeneralize and equivocate all black men as being one. That's called caste typing. They are caste type all black men as one, being, you know, lazy bums, impregnating women. But see, here's the problem with that. Most black men are not even having sex like that. And I'm gonna share something with you, Braca. Most American women have had more sex than the typical American man. They've done studies, Braca, that says about 33% of men are still virgins. So men are not having sex like that. That's why men have an aversion for women to give their virtue away for so free, because a man want a woman that's disciplined, you know, and so men feel slighted when they know it's hard for them to get sex because you got to have status, money, looks, height. But then the woman he's with gave it away for so free. He said, well, why would I invest in you when you gave the thing that I desire the most for free? Watch this. I created a term, Sister Braca. I call it black love without consent. And black love without consent is a terminology, Braca, that I created. It basically postulates this. The world forgot to ask men what they wanted in dating and relationships. Me being a licensed therapist and you being a therapist both, we understand that consent is necessary in order to disseminate information. So I came up with something creative because I am the coach and clinician. I am a licensed therapist. I call it black love without consent. Grandmama understood about consenting to a man. She didn't mind making him a pie and being sweet and shooting her shot by dropping her handkerchief, or shooting her shot by putting a pie in the window and letting that savory apple pie. That's how women back then was. Am I talking right, Braca?
Yes.
That's how women back then would shoot their shot, or looking at the man and turning her head and start smiling, or twirling her hair. That was a sign that she subconsciously was giving that man choosing signals.
Yes.
But you know, but these heifers now, not only they just don't understand the virtues of being a woman, and then when you try to teach them, many of them don't want to learn. So what the Manosphere is doing is helping men to address their psychological needs, but also is teaching them that there's a king inside of them and that they have value. And once they know what their full potential is, they don't have to settle for mediocrity. Listen. In the clinical world, there's a such thing called behavior modification. And what I've learned is this, Braca, she has no power but the power that the man gives her. When Lucifer came to Jesus, when he was on the mountaintop, the devil was just like Keisha. Keisha loved to shame men into submission. And Lucifer did the same thing to Jesus, the Most High. He said this. He said, if you be the Son of Man, turn this stone into bread. And Jesus said, you should not tempt the Lord thy God. And he said, go ahead on, slewfoot, heathen Lucifer, and the devil flee. So my whole point is when men know what their purpose is and when they're standing in their kingdom, then it's nothing Keisha can say or do to get that man sidetracked. He'll laugh at her and he said, go ahead on, Keisha. I rebuke you, I rebuke thee, Keisha, in the name of Jesus. Keep moving, Keisha, because you're not going to get me off my square. You're not going to dictate to me who I'm going to marry, who I'm going to be with. I got a standard. Either you're going to meet the standard or you're going to be singing that song by Patti LaBelle on my own. You're going to be by yourself with a cat, a dildo, and a glass of wine because you had an opportunity to get a good man, but you minimized the importance of masculinity because you thought you were better than the men that created this world. And here's the problem with that. Men created the world. And so I understand, Brock, that I need men that are more astute than myself when it comes down to civil engineering and civil ingenuity. I understand that. So I submit that I need those men. I submit, Sister Broca, that I need the masons and the electricians and the men that create the electric grid. But there are some silly women that say they don't need men. They can build a world on their own. I say, you silly fool. Not understanding that it takes years of ingenuity to make tools better. It takes years of ingenuity to make the structure better. Those structures didn't become better overnight. It took years of refinement, and men have to sharpen their craft to make those things better. So what silly woman think that if every man got on a rocket ship, every man boy and got on a rocket ship and took all the masons, the artisans, the civil engineers, and they left women on this planet, women could not maintain this civilization because they don't have the skill set. I don't have the skill set to maintain it. So if I don't have the skill set and I realize that's not my talent, how much more can women do the same thing? But they're so arrogant and delusional that they think, Broca, that they can maintain the world. And so what they do, women like yourself that support your husband, they'll say you're male identified. They'll say that you're a man-me, and you're a pick-me. And I found that problematic. Go ahead and respond, please.
Well, one thing I do is I like to remove any resistance. So I personally, well, first of all, I have a small practice and I have great clients. My clients, it's all relationship based. It's entrepreneurs and it's helping with relationships and some business things.
Right.
But I believe in removing resistance. So I haven't been in situations where I've been identified as a pick me or this or that. Now, some of that may change because I am building a digital footprint now. So that may change, but I just say to each his own. I believe whatever's working for you, let it keep working. So there's no resistance there. But if it's anybody who is doing something that's not working, and they do want more traditional values, and they do want harmony in their families, if they do want respectable, honorable children that they can be proud of, then that's who I will work with. But usually, I'll tell you, I don't have resistance because I'm not trying to change anybody.
Right, respect, right. You're not trying, right. You're just letting the chips fall where they fall.
They fall where they fall.
Right.
Period.
They either get out of line or they just get left behind.
Yeah, that's it. Get on board or get left behind, because actually, I'm so blessed. And I mean, I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed because of all the joy I have in the family that I'm in.
Right.
Happy children, happy husband, happy wife, people's needs are met. So I'm very joyful. If it weren't for the Creator burdening my heart to be able to share what I have with others and help others for the sake of our families and communities, because it's been given to me.
Right.
I didn't have it. It's been given to me.
It's been given to you.
I know it easily because I live it. So it's only fair and humane to share it.
Right.
But that's really what I can say. I love what I have. And if everybody love what they have, how does one have time to hate on anybody else?
You're right. Well, you're in a very special condition. You know what? And let me tell you something about this dear woman that I respect highly. And I respect her husband as well, too. And it's sort of funny, but I get it. You know, when me and Broca talk, she's so respectful of her husband, she gonna have her husband near her. I know that's a good woman, because You know, she don't play no games, and I respect her for that, and I respect Chief as well. I be laughing sometimes. I said, Chief ain't gonna let nobody touch his bone. I be laughing my behind off. I said, Chief ain't gonna let nobody touch his bone. And so when she called me or we talk is on business, she always got her husband there, which I respect highly, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because she's showing reverence and respect to her husband. She's creating boundaries for her relationship, and because of that, not only do I respect you highly, I respect your husband even more. I respect you guys both, because you both set boundaries. A woman that would talk to another man in front of her husband is a woman that's being accountable, but she's showing a high level of reverence to her husband. Now, some will say, oh, you know, he's just insecure. You know, I ain't got nothing to do with no damn insecure. He's not insecure. The man, it don't mean a man is insecure. That man got a right when another man is talking to his wife to stand on business and be in the forefront. That's the right thing to do. And I would expect my wife to do the same thing, and she's talking to a man. It's a level of reverence to that man, like Sarah did in the Bible. She calls Abraham her Lord. And so she's showing reverence to her husband and her king. And guess what? The more you show reverence to your husband, the women just don't get the assignment, Sister Brock. It goes back to what theology says: when the praises go up, then the blessings come down. Right. And the more you treat that man right, consistent with what Teddy Pendergrass said, he said, you keep on lifting me higher. The more you keep doing that to that man, look at how well off you are. You're blessed. You live good. You eat good. You and your husband probably eat at the best restaurants. And so, but there are a lot of women that
I'm the best cook.
Say it again.
I'm the best cook.
Oh, you the best cook? Well, because I don't do no. Yeah, I don't do no cooking. Yeah, I don't cook. Listen, I do all outside work. I'm old school traditional. Yes. You know, some men are contemporary traditional, but I don't cook. I wash my own clothes, but you know, I cut the grass. I do all the yard work. You know, I keep the cars maintenance and all that, but I don't do no cooking. I don't do that. I might fix me something every now and then, but my wife cooked for me, because I ain't gonna do it. I ain't doing no cooking. I ain't got time for it. Shout out to my man, brother St. James, always showing love. He was at the conclave for the $20 $20 holler. Shout out to my good friend St. James, and him and Gregory Scotland, #1 sponsors of the stream. Gregory Scotland said that, Coach, that this election cycle has shown many men where they stand with black women within the black community. Look at Sonny Houston, Whoopi Goldberg, and other black women telling men to fall in line and vote for Kamala. We're going to talk about that briefly in a minute. But shout out to brother Gregory Scotland. It's brother Gregory Scotland now with the $40 holler. Him and brother St. James and my dear friend Crimson Cure, they are the #1 sponsors of the stream. All right, shout out to my sister Bashur. She said, I know that's right, sis. And listen, let me tell you guys something. Bashur can cook her behind off. She can cook. She's a stalwart when it comes down to cooking up a savory meal. So this is the brother Chief that I met, guys, at the conclave. Chief, while we're talking, introduce yourself, man. Go ahead, brother.
Greetings, each and every one. This is Chief of Chukma, or they call me Chief Solomon, and Chief of the Okaloosa, Chukma, Arawak, Chata Nation. So that's who I am, and I help men get their proper status, and get their families together. So,
what did you garner from the conclave when you were there, man? What did you garner from the conclave? And
it
how
was great.
The
#1 thing of being at the conclave was really for my son, to make sure that he's able to see a plethora of melanated men who have a vision, who have things that they wanted to get accomplished. And to make sure that they themselves were learning, that they were studying, that they're continually making themselves better and better. And so I want to make sure that he has that particular environment around him as often as possible.
You know, you look at the current landscape, Chief Solomon, and dating and relationships. You were fortunate to find your wife at a good time. What would you say has changed radically in dating and relationships now compared to the past? What would you say has changed radically?
Wow. What I see today is the lack of comprehension. I'm very big on terminologies and concepts. So because of the breakdown of family, what has happened is that people have lost the environment to be able to learn from the family. So one of the big things for us is dinner, even having dinner as a family. And so having dinner as a family, controlling that, making sure that we're able to communicate with each other, see what's happening, see the things that are going on, see the challenges, and us being able to properly communicate about it. So that's one major thing that is a major difference. Again, many times when we have gone out, we're seeing children on tablets and on phones constantly, not being able to communicate. The mothers and fathers not communicating to their offspring, and not having a family atmosphere. One of the major things that we are putting together is making sure that families are intact, because that is where the wealth and the riches are in the community. Without families intact, what I call naturally sustainable families, that is not going to be something that is able to be done. It's not good. And that's what we're seeing today. And what we're seeing, the big difference today is that the families are not intact. That's the biggest issue today, that the families are not intact.
Right. And you know, once again, man, I respect you and Miss Chief, your wife Braca. I respect you guys both. But I always tell people we will never get back to the paragon of greatness. There was a man by the name Chief of Jock to Copperville. And Jock to Copperville was a man that was exploring the kaleidoscope of the broader Americas. And Jock to Copperville said that when America ceased to be good, then America would cease to be great again. Then, consistent with theology, it says, unless God build a house, the labor builds in vain. There's a lot of emasculation in modern times. There's a lot of emasculation in the home. There's a lot of emasculation overall, even in the political realm, where women, there was a time when the woman would follow her husband to the poll and disrespect her husband, say, okay, baby, we're going to do this because they were one. But now the women are telling their husbands how to think and how to vote, which is a form of emasculation. And Chief, I've never in my life seen so many, excuse my language, damn simps in my life. I've never in my life seen so many simps. They drag their knuckles. Oh, I'm going to do what my wife say. Oh, I'm going to do what my wife say. You know, worthless, weak. Because let me tell you something. A man ain't gonna tell me how to think, but I sure ain't gonna want to tell me how to think. You ain't gonna tell me how to think. You'll get your feelings hurt if you try to tell me how to think or what to do, because I'm a very dominant masculine man. Nobody tell me what to do. I'm a self-made man with the grace of the Most High. Everything I've got has been by blood, sweat, and tears. I've worked hard. I got it from the mud. I supersede everybody's expectations. This is my first year being a business owner, running my own private practice, and I give all greatness to God for him giving me the mind, the strength, and the health to do what I'm doing. But I see so many times, Chief, I was telling Braca earlier, I've seen men in marriages, Chief, that are married to their wives, paying all the bills, and one man told me he hadn't had sex with his wife in about 5 years. I had another man. Man, brother, you'll be surprised the stories I hear in these couples and these marriage recessions. I had another couple. They finally got a divorce because he was emasculated. He said he hadn't had sex with his wife in 9 years, which is a form of mental abuse and neglect. And so what I try to do, even do these shows, is to galvanize men, Chief, to let them know that they have a king inside of them, to let them know that once they do the internal work, because I believe succinctly that men got to uncover so that they can recover, so they can be ready for the right woman. Let me tell you something. If you're a broken man in America, you'll be a broken man if you get a passport and travel abroad. So you can say, oh, I'm going to go get me my passport. Well, you still broken. You got to re-identify and reassert what your value system is. But men abroad are treated better. And so many men that I've seen, Chief, go through a condition that I created called affection deprivation. It's a term that I created called affection deprivation. They're going through deprivation because they're not getting the affection that they need. And so when a woman is giving her man nutritious meals, she's taking care of him sexually, she's keeping herself looking pretty, she's cooperative, she's keeping herself looking good, it keeps that man invigorated to do more. When did you know that Braca was going to be the one? What made her different than the other women that you dated?
Wow, that's a long time ago, my friend.
It's a long time ago.
But I will tell you that it was pretty simple, to be honest with you. Again, even at that time, quite a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
there was a problem back then that we saw coming up. The problem was way back then. It's not only now it's so public, but the problem was even back then. Again, we met about 34, 35 years ago. Okay.
Right.
Being wed now, going on 32, coming up in June. But the issue is that even then, the women, I can't say that the challenges, I have to make sure I try to say this correctly. I try to make sure that the challenges were still there, but the issue is that there weren't as many challenges as there are today.
Right.
But many women were getting messages back then on being very loose, on being again having the touted, seeing it. That's where again a lot of the rap culture was starting to come up.
Right.
A lot of things were starting to happen at that time, and many may not know, but then there are certain messages that were passed through the rap culture, through all the different culture and different things, where it was making us so that we would become having using our lower self instead of using our godlike self. And
Right.
And that is where we see a big difference. So it was easy to choose her. She respected herself. She respected the people around her. She respected men.
Right.
And many of the others, not that they didn't respect men, but they didn't respect themselves.
Right.
And therefore, if the woman at that point could not respect themselves, I don't trust you. I can't trust you.
Respect.
Because I know where I'm going to be. I've been around, I can't tell you all the different things, but I've been around some very high society areas, and no man is going to want to bring I'll say, put it like this. They don't want to bring a Keisha to a mayor.
Right. Right.
And that's
right.
just, no one's going to bring a Keisha to a mayor's ball.
Right.
Unless that man's a certain type of man, he wants to pass her around for
Right.
other favors. Other than that, he's not going to do that.
Yes, sir. Right. And, I came up with a term called Catherine. Catherine was the paragon of being a great woman. She was the paragon of being a great woman. And consistent with this clip, Sister Brock and Chief Solomon, those women were the greatest women ever.
Fall comes to us in its own time. Fighters keepers, losers we.
Those women were the paragon of femininity. They were the paragon of greatness. They understood the assignment. They were virtuous women. They weren't perfect. They knew they had a dark nature, but the thing that separated them is that they were God-fearing women, and that kept them grounded. They knew that their dark nature was so ever looming, but those women stayed on their knees. Like you were talking about the spiritual self, they were in alignment with their higher self or their spiritual self by being transcended under the auspices of the Spirit. But let me see what Gregory said real quick, because Gregory was the #1 sponsor of the stream. Gregory said, Coach, he said, black men of substance are not interested in trying to rebuild the existing community. Many black men want a new community. If it means with other women from other cultures, so be it. And I agree with that. I told your wife, I've been married for 28 years, but if I wasn't married to my wife, my next one going to be from a foreign country. The typical American woman don't meet my standards. And then she probably be younger too. She going to be younger. I ain't married nobody my age. She going to probably be younger too. So I wouldn't even deal with the typical American woman if I was a single man, because I don't have time to teach you what my expectations are. You should come into that relationship having a requisite knowledge on how to more or less comport yourself with being a wife. What do you remember, Chief? You and I are Gen X men. What do you remember about Gen X women from that generation back when you and I were teenagers? What do you remember about the Gen X women back then compared to modern women now? What do you remember?
Well, again, that's where a lot of women had to make a decision as to, there were a lot of messages that were coming forth at that time. And with those messages, many of the mothers and the grandmothers and aunties did not stop the messages that were coming forward. They didn't sit down and take the time to be able to explain to these young ladies what the importance was. And remember, at that time, the major push was women get educated, get highly educated. Don't worry about family. Get educated first.
Yes, sir.
Get all your education, and then think about that. The only difference, the difference of then was that we are biologically made up different, and therefore men are. If you were talking about starting a family, now you have women in their 40s talking about I'm going to start a family. Well, good luck with that.
Good luck with that, right?
So it's not saying that you can't, but very few are able to do it, and if it is, it's going to be a high risk pregnancy. So understanding that and having that comprehension, some things they're saying, oh, everybody is equal. Yes, as far as value per se, you could say we're equal, but as far as our what our equality, as far as what our bodies can do, that's not the situation.
Yes, sir. Right. Right.
Create children. Some people saw Dr. Sebi father some children in his 80s, right?
Right.
I don't know of any women today that are able to do such a thing. So
right.
So it's important. And even then, a lot of times we're not talking about the exceptions, but many men in their 70s and 80s father children. But
they did.
Again, I don't know of any women who have done that. I think I heard one recently that was in their 60s or something.
In the 60s, right.
But other than that, again, it's not the norm, and it's not something that should be practiced. Again, the most healthiest time of the women is, again, for that is between, from a legal standpoint, 18 up to 30, that area. So that's the area.
You and Brock are doing a marvelous job trying to raise your daughter into being a virtuous woman. What are the requisites you look for as a father in the man that one day might want to take your daughter hand in marriage? What is your expectation, and what should be his qualifications? Because you are a rarity as well as your wife. I think you and I are remnant men to some degree, because a lot of men there are weak. They don't have no stand. You got clowns there trying to come to your house talking about, I'm gonna pick. No, you're not picking my daughter up, heifer. I wish a man would come to my house there and talking about picking my daughter up without me vetting him properly. And so, if a man came to your house and then he said, if your daughter was grown, and because she's grown, she don't have to come through you, what would you say to that man? I see Chief laughing. Go ahead and tell the world. Hold on, Chief. Hold on, tell the world, man. Let the Lord use you. Let the Lord use you, Chief. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, put it like this. You wouldn't be at the door too long.
Okay. Exactly.
So I don't have hooligans or thieves and thugs come up to where I live or where I put my head. So that's not going to happen. That one will not be there very long at all. They will know very quickly that's not the wrong place, and they're going to leave. I guarantee they're going to leave.
So basically, what you're saying, if a man want to vet your daughter in marriage, he got to come to
you. He's not. My daughters know. They already know. No one is coming to their house in any way, shape, or form unless they have talked. As a matter of fact, recently had a situation where, again, we do homeschool. We've homeschooled for 25 years. And so one of our daughters, she said, hey, there's a young man, he wanted to take me to prom or something of the sort, I believe it was. So she said, okay. I said, okay, that's nice. Who is he? Let me see his picture. Who is his mother and his father?
There you go. Brother. Exactly. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be. Right. Go ahead.
How long has the mother and father been together? Right. Okay, good. All right. Well, okay. He seems to be all right. I'm going to have to talk to the mother and father.
Right. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so when a man is serious about your daughter, I know people grow in their faith, but if a man, how can a man call himself a man of faith if he take your daughter from under your covering and say because she's grown, she don't have to consult with you? That's not consistent with being a man of faith, because a man of faith understands that he needs to sit down with the father and they talk and they compare notes. My job is to see, can you groom your daughter the way I need to groom? Can you groom her the way that I strive to groom her? But see, modern women are very rebellious. They're very rebellious. Some have a form of godliness. I'm not saying they're not believers. Some are genuine. They might love Jesus, but, the Bible said you did wrong well, but what hindered you? And so it's important for men to sit down and vet the family. You want to make sure that the person don't have any mental illness. You want to make sure that the man can be sustainable and take care of your child, of your daughter. We're not trying to nullify the fact that they're adults, but you being an adult does not supersede what you should do. And when it comes down to respecting and honoring the father in the house, everything should come through the father. One of the things I have tried to teach my kids in the past, let's say if I'm doing something wrong, it's not your job to correct me unless I ask you for permission. It's not your job to correct your father. Your job is to pray. And if you got to follow an issue with your dad or your mother, you go and talk to them in a series of respect. But this generation now is so entitled and selfish, and the men are so weak, they just let anything go. So I commend you for striving to be an exemplar in this very crazy culture. I commend you for trying to raise the banner, not only for your daughter, but also for your son. And like I said, I'm striving to do the same thing. Like I said, I got a daughter, 19, virgin. I'm at NC State, doing good in college. And, you know, I'm trying to keep it that way. I want to put my daughter under the auspices of a good man. I don't want my daughter, listen, we know people got a past and folks have done things. And God can change people. We understand that. And I'm not saying I would turn a man away per se, but I need to vet you to make sure that, you know, you meet my standards, or if you don't meet my standards, you tell me what your mission is and what you plan on doing before I give you my daughter way off to you. I take great pride in trying to make my kids better kids. Am I a perfect father? No, I'm not a perfect father. Have I made mistakes? Yeah, I made mistakes. But I still have a theocentric worldview. And even though I've fallen in some areas, I still have a heart of trying to protect the virtue of my daughters and making sure they get a good quality, wholesome man. And so what is your fear for your son? You and Brock talk about the daughters, but what are the conversations that you have with your son, Chief, about what to look for in a wife?
Again, the same thing is, I believe Braca may have said some things earlier, but, and I'll see, I guess we'll test ourselves. But the whole thing is that it has to be upfront. He has to be upfront. What are his intentions? What is he looking to do? He's going to know. He's not going to pussyfoot around this situation. Again, he has other goals. He's very much like I am. I was very, very serious. So he's not going to be playing any games. He doesn't have time to play games. Games cost too much resources and what people call money. So it costs a lot. It takes up a lot of time, and it's a waste of time. So going around doing a lot of dating and running around here and there. Again, having fun is one thing. Going out and having fun, but not using or abusing your body and doing so. And that's a very, very important thing to comprehend. So he's on a mission. Again, he was there at the conclave, and he's learning. He's doing a lot of things. He's already been doing very great things, and so he's just going to continue. I mean, he's 20 years of age, and he's doing very, very well. Very well.
No doubt, man. I commend you for that, man. I'm going to show you guys something real quick, and then we're going to get into the video that Braca did at the conclave. We're going to break that down. Here's the pathology, Chief and Braca, of what Keisha looks like. Watch this. So these are the 10 plays, Chief and Braca, that destroyed Keisha. Keisha came out of fatherlessness. Keisha tended to aggrandize baby deletions, not understanding that babies are the image of the Most High. Keisha was promiscuous. She gave her virtual away to Raekwon, Shermite, Day, and Man. And then she began to blame all black men for the pain that she went through because of her bad selection. Keisha is a byproduct of weak pastors. Keisha saw the marriage decline. She don't value marriage. Keisha believes in liberalism and liberal dogmas. Keisha lacks self-awareness. Keisha is a rebel, and because of that, there's the passport bros. What would you say about the 10 plays that destroyed Keisha? What would you say about that briefly?
Well, I think it's very accurate, and it shows that there is a lack. It's unfortunate, and again, like as you said before, it's not that they cannot have forgiveness or have a change of heart or what have you, but the miles that are being put onto the mind and onto the body can be very detrimental, right? And it can slow down the progress if a man is there and he wants to move forward. It's going to cost him a lot. It's not to say that he can't do that or he can't come in and try to help or help shape, but it's going to cost him in a massive amount. It'll cost him at least 15 years of his life.
Explain that a little bit more, Chief. Break it down a little bit more.
For instance, when we were our first offspring was born in the sixth year, and we had a tough time on the sixth year. And from that particular time, it took us 6 years, and a lot of that happened because of previous thoughts and expectations. Now, I took the time. Now, we were a lot younger, but the whole thing is it still took time for her to get onto my page. Well, I'm going to be consistent and constant. That's just the way I am.
Yes, sir.
Be that way. And I also treated her with the type of love that the Creator would showed her. So my belief is that she was the Creator. She belonged to the Creator before she belonged to me. So therefore, I'm going to show a certain level of respect and honor towards her as I have the Creator who's over me. So with that understanding and knowledge, I was able to bring that type of care, love, and comprehension to the situation, which made it go a lot faster. Now, would I do that today? No. But the whole issue is that that's the reason why many people, when they're younger, they're able to be more malleable to correct change.
Yes, sir.
So they need to get their things done correctly. It's not about having fun and enjoying your life and all that kind of. Oh, that's great. You will enjoy it. Believe you me, we have more life and more fun in relationship today than we ever did way back then. So that happens through comprehension and having certain life skills, the life skill of communication, life skill of being able to understanding human nature, the training of human nature. So we went through a lot of training after our 6th year to make sure that we did very, very well. And we are continually going through constant training all the time. And so that's what we help coach other people on. As far as even men who are single, they need to be coached on how to be a man today. It's unfortunate. They need to learn how to eat, how to dress. Many of them don't know even how to dress. They don't know how to look. So and then the women, they need to learn how to be a woman. And many of the young ladies are not learning from their mothers. So, and that's a very sad thing. It's a very sad thing. And so this is where we find ourselves today. Those families who are intact, those are who I would have my family or my offspring be in touch with. Those are the ones who they would be in touch with and who they would marry. Other than that, that's not something. Again, they may have to be outside of the country as well. We don't know.
Sister Braca, you talked about the evolution. You and I talked about the evolution. What would you tell the younger Braca about what you should have done versus what you didn't do in your younger years? So what would the older Braca tell the younger Braca what she needs to do to be more malleable in her relationship?
The older Braca would tell the younger Braca, be mindful of the choices you make, the things you do, because it may seem small, but it has its impact. So you really got to think ahead and not just go off of how you're feeling right now.
Excellent, right.
To plan and prepare for what you want. And it's not too early to do it. And you can have whatever you want, but plan and prepare for it. And don't discount slip ups or this and this and that like it's not important, regardless of what everybody else is doing. You call to a greater purpose, right? So be about your business.
No doubt. Respect. I respect that highly. I'm going to show you guys another thing. Then we're going to get to the video of Sister Braca that she did at the conclave. We're going to break that down. Trauma queens. Well, actually, before we get into that, you are a clinician like myself, Sister Braca. What are some of the pathology that you see in trying to treat people? What would you say is the biggest thing that you see in modern women that's sabotaging themselves? And before you give me intel on that, Braca, I'm going to show you something that I see as a clinician and that even other therapists see. But I want to show you something. Hold tight, if I can find it. This woman said something. Let me see if I can find it. This is what this therapist say about her issues with dealing with many women or black women in therapy. Hold tight. I'm going to drop you guys.
Black woman therapist tired of black women's attitudes.
Men, are you dealing with issues like this? Book a session.
And he told me that women don't apologize and women can't be held accountable. And I began to really think deeply about this idea. And one of the things that came across my mind is, in the last 9 months or so of me being in my private practice, I have myself experienced many women, whether they came as a couple or they came by themselves, they very abruptly discontinued their therapy. And I started to reflect and really think, what was going on here? And I noticed that after I had to confront them about something, I had to bring to their attention something they were doing that wasn't contributing to the health of the relationship.
Back, what did you think about that, Braca? What are some of the indictments that you see in trying to, or some of the pathology, mental pathology that you see in dating, well, not dating, in sessions when you try to coach women, but also give input as a therapist? Tell the audience what you're seeing.
Well, one thing in particular is people are creatures of habits. And so when, like, there's one person in particular was single for so long, then she became wed. Those same things that she did as a single woman doesn't play out well as a married woman. So it so much matters just our habits and our patterns. If people want to be married, you don't become a wife once you say I do, because you got to remember whatever your habits are and your patterns is going to follow you. So this young lady still wanted to dress like she was single and like she was looking for something, and it was to a high value man, but he loved her, he picked her, but it was just problem upon problem upon problem. And because of her training and her belief system, she didn't think anything was wrong with it. So that would be what I would say, just the expectations and not being clear with the expectations. So one of the things people can do is be clear with the expectations. And that's why even premarital counseling stuff is important, because it's not the same. It's not the same. So even though that guy, he was doing really well. But it's almost like, what did he expect? That's what he found. That's how she was when he found her. So in terms of even what his expectations were, it's blurry. And then to want and expect her to change, that was difficult. She did start making some changes, but trust me, it was hard, because it was almost as though she's now expected to be something she's not and do something she's not accustomed to. So I would just say it's important how you start. It's important. Right. And let me put this piece in on this book. All right. This is the book of Obsidian, and this is the ladies edition. When we went to the Manosphere, Chief bought this for me. He bought himself one for the men. I've been reading it. And one thing that really stands out, a lot of things stand out, ladies, I would get it because it's talking about dating in this era, and how to prepare for it, and how to not be taken advantage of, and just how to make this thing work for you. One of the things it brought out, and it triggered my memory because of what I just spoke of, is it talks about people not being clear in what they want in a relationship, or even what kind of relationship they have. It's almost like because people don't really want to be accountable, they don't really want to define it. So it's important, though, to define it. Whatever it is, define it. Be clear about it. That's really what I would say. So I would just say that, to expect function out of dysfunction. I don't expect function out of dysfunction.
Do you get a lot of pushback from women when you try to educate, equip, and teach?
I really don't. And the reason I don't is because I have a pretty shrewd approach. One, they pay me a lot.
Okay, right.
Two, I'm not leading with my agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leading with what they say they want. So it doesn't matter where we start on the time frame.
Right.
I'm there to help them get what they say they want. So either they're going to do the work to get what they want, or just change what they want, and we can work on something else.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't get much pushback at all.
Shout out to my man St. James. This brother invested in me. He did a non-diagnostic consultation. Guys, I do non-diagnostic consultation, but like your sister Brocken said, it ain't cheap. You know, if you want this kosher knowledge, you're gonna have to pay for it. Because I am a licensed therapist from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. I have several degrees. I just got licensed recently in the state of Virginia. I take my craft serious. You know, Brother St. James, he invested in his mental wellness. I gave him a thorough analysis and a thorough breakthrough of some of the pathologies that he was struggling with and how to overcome them. And so if you want help, you know, you can book a non-diagnostic consultation. This is not for insurance. We don't take insurance. It's not an insurance thing. But I'm giving you my time, I'm giving you my expertise, and I'm giving you my analysis from a clinical perspective and how to circumnavigate the issues that you're struggling with so that you can be more suitable, not only for yourself, because consistent with what Shakespeare said to thine own self be true, but also if you happen to get into a relationship, how you need to lead as a man. I've said before in the past that she only respects power and strength. Women look for men that have power and strength and the men that stand on business. The biggest indictment that I see in the modern world is that men tend to reward bad behavior in relationships. And that's a condition of self-sabotage because you should not reward bad behavior. A man has a divine mandate based on the Most High. The Most High said you will rule over her. And ruling does not mean you're subjugating her in a negative way, but it just means that your job is to guide her in the right path. But sadly, now men reward bad behavior. So guys, if you're serious about getting a non-diagnostic consultation, come see me at the Kosher Clinician. I'll put you on the right path. I'll give you a life-altering experience based on being married for 28 years, but also based on my clinical training and also how to more or less stand on business and more or less reduce the thinking errors that a lot of men are struggling with. Shout out to my man Through the Fire podcast, always showing love. Shout out to that brother. Him and I have done shows before in the past. We also talking in the back from time to time. Shout out to brother Through the Fire podcast for showing love, as he's one of the sponsors of the stream, and that's a deal, right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Through the Fire podcast, brother. I appreciate your love and your support. You guys are showing a lot of love and support on today, and I appreciate it. As I have two esteemed guests that I respect highly, Chief Solomon and Sister Brocker. We're going to get into the video in a minute, Sister Brocker, but I want to let you guys see this real quick because you work in the mental wellness as well as I do. And these are consistent with what I call a trauma queen. Many trauma queens have oppositional defiant disorder. They have ODD. Some have dependent personality disorder. Some weaponize language when they can't get what they want because they're rebellious. Some have a condition called displaced aggression. They tend to minimize masculinity. They tend to be eternal victims. I call it eternal victimization. They don't find their strength in being accountable, but they find their strength in victimization. And then some have what's called a condition I created called proxy victimization. They tend to approximate themselves with other women that love not to be accountable and to be in a state of victimhood. And then the number one that I tend to see many times, they have borderline personality disorder that tends to be more manifest in women. Borderlines can't see black or white, they can only see gray. And those women have been through extreme trauma many times, whereas NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, tends to manifest in men. And they also abhor traditionalism. They also project through ignorance that black men are bad, black men are not worthy, black men are broken, dusty, black men created their pain. And so they tend to project a lot of these negative stereotypes through overgeneralization because they're trauma queens. How would you respond to the things that I have on the list, Brocker?
Well, thanks for leaving the list up.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
But yes, I see so much truth. And again, this is not limited to just women. But the oppositional defiant disorder, yeah, people, it's a society where I want to do my own thing and can't nobody tell me nothing. All right. Dependent personality disorder reminds me of like just the unhealthy relationship and dependency, weaponizing language. It reminds me of sign that Kevin Samuels speak of. which is shame, insult, guilt, need to be right, definitely. Displaced aggression, yes, for sure. If somebody has been mean to you, or you feel they have not, or betrayed you in one relationship, then you know what? Hey, you're ready for the next one. So that's that displaced aggression. Minimization of masculinity, oh, for sure, definitely that. For sure that, because again, can't nobody tell me nothing, and you can do it better than the man, and you don't need them anyway. So yes, that. Eternal victimization, what's that? Proxy victimization, borderline personality disorder. Yeah, it's so interesting. Chief and I were talking earlier, and I was letting him know just today that the reason why we're seeing so many of these dysfunctions is because of the traumas people have experienced.
Right.
They're not just borderline, or they're not just this, as though often cases as though they were just born that way.
Right.
Things often have been created, and it's been created by that environment, and it started before they were even of age of accountability.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff is passed down. You know, I know someone who right now is in a hospital, and man, what is she dealing with? She's not my client, but somebody's very close to me. She's dealing with like schizophrenia and probably bipolar and stuff like that. But you know what? She was abused through incest, and she was constantly looking for acceptance, and for somebody to be accountable, and just acceptance or acknowledgement of what happened. And she couldn't get that, and that ended up going inward. And this girl was sophisticated into business, CPR. She was a CPR like instructor. She was a doula. This girl had it going on. You hear me? And then to see how she got stuck from her traumas of her past. And one of the things I'll say to that is, that doesn't happen to everybody. Even though everybody go through the same thing, everybody don't have the same experience with it. But one of the big things is when we get stuck and can't forgive. And she allowed her healing to be dependent upon somebody acknowledging her. Well, if somebody never acknowledges you, then you stuck. So she became stuck, and right now she's institutionalized, and she's young. She's like in her 40s, late 40s, but her mother is taking care of her. So really, to the list, people deal with all kinds of things, and usually it's tied to some trauma. But I believe that when people deal with that trauma at the root, which most people don't because they don't know how to, when they deal with it at the root, they can really free themselves of a whole bunch of things. That's
right. I agree with that. But the correlation to that, you're correct. So let me break it down. Let me be very succinct. Many personality disorders are, like you were correct, some of it was not necessarily something that they could have went through. It's sometimes personality disorder is a byproduct of extreme trauma, abuse, and neglect. That's why it's called a personality disorder. But however, some situations of trauma is self-inflicted trauma. That's number one. And then number two, some of it is just that they're rebellious. So they'll go around, I'm going to do trauma. No, ma'am, you're going to do trauma because you chose to be rebellious. When your parents are trying to lead you, you were rebellious. When your dad told you not to mess with her because she had a big butt and a smile, you didn't listen to your father. So all trauma is not necessarily a byproduct of some type of social malady or some type of social maladjustment, but many times that is sometimes I see in modern women is predicated, Braca, in liberal indoctrination that obfuscates what a woman's true potential is, consistent with the serpent when he came to the woman, the seraphim. The serpent didn't go through the man, but the serpent went through the woman, and he got the woman through her ear gate. He got her through her ear gate. And this little clip I'm going to show you guys, many women have been indoctrinated by the serpent now, and the trauma that they're dealing with is self-inflicted.
Follow me, baby. The elders are old and out of touch. I have the power to help you become the better version of yourself. Listen to me. I know what's best for you. I am the Snake Whisperer.
They've been listening to the snake whisperer, Brock and Chief, and because they listen to the snake whisperer, they reduce or not hear the traditions of the elders and the fathers. They have impacted upon themselves pain and hurt because they didn't want to listen. Many women are suffering now due trauma, Brock and Chief, because they didn't listen to the elders. They didn't listen to the fathers. They didn't listen to the admonitions of the fathers because they were in a state of rebellion. And because they're in a state of rebellion, now they're suffering, and sometimes they might assign that suffering for the cause, but no, sometimes that suffering is because you are out of order and you were rebellious and you wanted to do things your way. It's out of order for a woman or a son or a daughter to try to teach their father how to be a father. Even if your father was ignorant or not complicit in what you think he should be complicit to, your job is to take it to the Lord in prayer and say, Lord, hopefully you open my dad's eyes so that he might see. But it's not your job to correct an elder. That's not your job. That's the Most High's job to correct that elder. And then the sanctified wife sanctifies the husband. If even, let's say if Chief was doing something wrong and you didn't like it. Now, of course, you can talk with your husband. You should have a conversation where y'all can talk. But if you're not getting resolved, your job is to get on your knees and pray and live out your biblical mandate as a virtuous Proverbs 31 woman. And hopefully at that point, through your praying, that he'll see, his eyes will be open and he'll see where he's in error. But the problem with a lot of these modern women now, they try to teach men how to be men. And it would be a cold day in hell, Rock and Chief, if anybody try to tell me how I'm going to operate as a man. It ain't going to happen because I'm very fiery, Brock. I'm very fiery.
Yes, I see.
It ain't going to happen. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I appreciate you saying that and bringing that other piece because that is very well valid. Very well valid. Some things are just self-inflicted and people are going about by their own lust of whatever their own things is. It's really rebellion, right? Which I believe is witchcraft as well. But
yes, ma'am, it is.
But yeah, you're so right. I do know of situations like that. It's like, no, this person just chose to be rebellious.
Oh, yeah. They chose to be rebellious. Yeah. Self-inflicted trauma. But they'll say, I'm going through circumstance. No, so you're going to do circumstance because you got the spirit of the devil in you. Shout out to my man Gregory Scott showing a lot of love. Gregory was the #1 sponsor of the stream with $70. He said, Coach, let's be real. Too many baby boomer and Gen X men were way too accommodating of women's whims in the 80s and the 90s. I agree with y'all 100%. We didn't push back enough against feminist females then, and things got out of control. And you are right. You're 100% correct. And I created a term called carnal hypergamy. And this is what happens when men don't stand on business. Tears. Now, Chief, you and Brock, y'all remember back in the day with Keith Sweat, let this last forever. Y'all, we Gen X.
Yeah, we remember.
We Gen X, man. We standing on business. Like the young folks say, something slight, stop playing. That's what the young folks say, something slight. But we remember a time when men stood on business, and sometimes men of the 90s, even though the women were better, they were doing too much simping. They were simping too much. And so I created two terms. There's a term called hypergamy. Hypergamy means when a woman tends to want the best version of a man. Now, hypergamy in itself is not bad by default. It's not a bad thing because a woman wants a man to protect her. But there's a difference between kosher hypergamy, which is fit and proper, and then carnal hypergamy, which is predicated on the flesh or fickle whims. Kosher hypergamy is fit and proper, meaning she just wants a man to be a provider, protector, and love her. But carnal hypergamy says, I'm going to exploit a man and get the best man that can more or less satiate my carnal desires, because the word carnal comes from the Greek carne, which means flesh. And so you have a lot of women that are victims of carnal hypergamy, meaning they look past good men that had that they could have married in their 20s, but he was boring, he was a square. And now after all the virtues gone, they've been ran through by a bunch of men. Now all of a sudden, I want a good man. Where are all the good black men? Oh, sweetie, you had them back in the 90s when you could have got with a good man, but you didn't respect that man. And now you're singing that song by Patti LaBelle, On My Own. Shout out to my man, guys. We got a $50 hit in the house. We got a $50 hit in the house. The Quiet Storm is the #1 sponsor on the Cash App. Shout out to my man, the Quiet Storm, with the $50 hitter, as he is one of the #1 sponsors of the stream, followed by Gregory Scott. Shout out to the class.
It's the money.
All right, so we're going to get into that video, Sister Braca. I'm enjoying this conversation with you and Chief. Much respect and love to you guys. Let's get into the video that you did at the conclave. We're going to break this thing down. Hold tight.
Hi, I'm Braca Solomon. I'm a licensed therapist over 25 years. I'm also a relationship success coach. I work with entrepreneurs, helping them in their relationships and in business. We are at the Four Seasons in Houston, Texas, and we are here for the 4.0 conclave, Manosphere. I'm here actually in a supportive role for all the men that are here. I'm here along with 2 other women. We were to make sure everybody was registered, everything was in order, and basically to be a support to all of the men here. Yes, there is a movement. There are several movements. I would say it probably started with what we may consider the feminist movement, where the focus was on women and making sure that women knew their rights and that they had rights and that they were able to move and be about as they choose and that they had choices and that they have choices. Now, as it relates to the manosphere, one thing that I've noticed just in my profession and even in just my personal surroundings is the disparity between men issues and women issues and men and women being.
Let's talk about that, the disparity between men issues and women issues, Sister Braca, because one will argue that first wave feminism is totally different than fourth wave feminism. And a lot of feminism, the suffragettes, some of it was maybe justified, but one of the things that I hate is the presupposition that black men oppress black women. Black men never oppress black women at the policy level, which is the macro level, because we never had power to oppress anyone. Black men and black women were mules of the same cause. We were working side by side. Many of the farmers of that generation were sending the daughters off to college and their wives off to Norman School. Norman School was to be a teacher, while he had a 3rd or 4th grade education and he stayed on the farm. So all this nonsense about, oh, these men, they just oppress us. They see everything through overgeneralization, and they see all black men through the negative lens of the color purple. What would you say about that little clip you were saying a minute ago? I want you to break that down and explain it to the audience real quick, sis.
Well, basically, in terms of men suppressing black women,
right?
You know, people have their perspectives. However, it's different if it's a man and a woman, they're married, they have no children, compared to a man and a woman, they're married and they have children. All bases have to be covered.
Right.
Somebody's got to care for the children. Right. And men by nature are breadwinners, by nature are providers, you know. So, you know, maybe some women felt suppressed because they couldn't go out and do, or felt they couldn't go out and do what the men did or what have you. But if that be the case, it's almost like, so it's not good enough for you, but then you want them to do it.
Right.
But I just think, for example, women are natural nurturers, you know. I believe born with that femininity is just that it gets rough and then they kind of lose sight of it. So that would be it. I just think all it's like, and that's why 2 are better than 1.
Yes.
Because you got so many bases to cover. And then when you have that yin and that yang, that brings that balance. So all pieces are covered. It's just that for whatever reason, maybe is because people think the grass is greener on the other side. You know, I can't say why, but I just know there's so many bases to cover when you have a family. And the objective should be getting those bases covered with whomever is the best at whatever that thing is. However, I do think it's natural for the man. Even scripture says, man who don't work, don't eat. So I think it's natural, though, for a man to be that warrior.
Yes, ma'am.
That killer, that hunter. You know, so I just think that's more by their nature.
Right.
And I think that women can do a whole lot. Matter of fact, how can women be limited in what they can do when they are the helpmeet? See, for me to be a helper, that means I have something to give. So I just think sometimes people want to cloud and obscure the roles.
Yes, right. And you know, I like something that Chief said earlier, and I'm going to add nuance to what Chief said. You know, one of the biggest things that women don't understand, and Chief, you're 100% correct, and I'm going to break it down. Men and women are equal in human essence, meaning we're essentially part of the Elohim. We are the sons and the daughters of Elohim. We are part of his creation, but we're not equal in role and design. We're not equal in role and design. Watch this. When you look at the heavenly host, there are beings called seraphims and cherubims, and they're part of the heavenly host. You got a group of beings called the knowing creatures or the living creatures, and that's all they do is sit around the throne and say, holy, holy, 24/7. They got eyes on their wings. Am I talking right? And then you got what's called the seraphim. You got cherubims, and then you got warring angels, and then you got this messenger angels. They are equal, and meaning they are the sons of Elohim, but they're not equal in their power and their might. They're not equal. So one of the things, the false equivocations of the modern woman is that she's equal, meaning she wants equity, and that's part of a communist construct. It comes from the word commune. It's called centrality of thought instead of being plurality of thought. And the commune or the communistic terminology is where women say, he's my partner. No, he's not your partner. He's your husband. Because that's all predicated in equity. Equity says that him and I are partners. But see, here's the problem with that. Chief can't be a chief if you're going to be his side chief. You can't be a side chief. Now, you could be the co-chief, but he's the chief. It ain't number one chief, and that's Chief Solomon. And you are the queen of the chief. And everything else disseminates downhill. But the problem with the modern woman, Braca, is that they want taxation without representation. They want all the benefits of traditionalism, but they don't want the responsibility that comes along with that. They want the man to do all this extra stuff. And, we equal. Yeah, you want to be equal when it comes down to power, but you don't want to be equal when it comes down to responsibility. When that rat is running under the bed, you don't want to be equal then. Come on, talk to me. Hold on, talk to me now. I'm gonna make you give me a love offering in a minute because I'm about to preach. You don't want to be equal when that car breaks down on the road in St. Louis and where Chief got to get out and change the tire. See, they want equality when it's beneficial, Braca, but they don't want equality for the sake of equality. And that's the problem. There's a perniciousness called penis envy where women want to be like men. They want to be just like men, no different than Lucifer. They want to be like men. But when it comes down to all the rigors that goes along with masculinity, they don't understand, Braca, that men die off early. Because men understand that they have a mission. The sperm cell, when they are swimming towards the egg, they are the fastest one out, but they die off earlier because they're constantly in motion, because the masculine is doing and the feminine is being. But see, the sperm cells that are left behind are the females because they just lagging behind because those sperm cells are just being. But the masculine sperm cell are on a mission to get to that egg, and sometimes they burn out. So when you go to the old folks' home, you don't see a bunch of men and women. You see a bunch of old women in wheelchairs, and a lot of the men are dead because they burn out quick because either they got a quarrelsome and contentious woman that's running them to the rooftop, or they didn't take care of their health, or they were so busy trying to make her happy instead of more or less living in his purpose that he died off early. You would be surprised the amount of men that sit in their cars before they come home, Braca and Chief, and they won't go home because they are burnt out. They don't stand on business. Their women control them, and they sit in the car and take a deep breath or cry before they walk into the house. That would never be me. I wish a wife or a woman would do that to me. That would never be me. That would never be me. That would never be me. It would be a serious problem if a woman tried that with me, because I don't tolerate that kind of nonsense. So they die off early because they are burnt out. Let's get back to the video real quick, because I know I want to be respectful of you guys' time, but I'm enjoying you guys. We might have to do this again too. The whole time.
Able to connect. So I'm a firm believer of everything that's happening here. Well, I wouldn't say everything. I'm not aware of everything that's happening. However, from the standpoint of the men coming together, building up men so that they're at their best, so that they're on their A game, so that they can be better husbands, better fathers, and just overall better men, I'm 100% in favor. He's actually the chief of the Okaloosa, Chukma, Arawak, Chata Nation, and he's also the chief of legal affairs for an organization called LENA. He has a legal background, although he's not an attorney or anything like that, but he's just very knowledgeable about men and their identity and men not being misidentified. We brought our son, and so a big focus is on him. He's a young man, early 20s, and we think that for our people such as ourselves to be able to come together, for men especially, and to be able to just connect and be an encouragement to one another. We were here more so as supportive staff, but you know what? We've always have been lifelong learners. So we're always developing ourselves, always looking to do self-improvement. So not only do we come and partake, but we also glean. So that's the role that we play. I do have more of a traditional, what some may deem as more of an old-fashioned approach, you know, in terms of men being leaders of their homes. However, that is...
Now, you know, it's you know, you said something that was very paramount, Sister Braca, and it's sad because in other cultures, that's normal. It ain't nothing old-fashioned about it. It's just called real fashion. It ain't nothing it ain't old-fashioned. It's just a real fashion. It's just wife. Men, you know, Hector can have a wife, and Hector might not make a lot of money, but his wife still cook, she still take care of her family, and sometimes Hector and his wife get down together. One of the biggest fallacies, Braca, that I see in modern women, they'll say that I can't be in my femininity because I gotta work, and I got a problem with that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Women in the South routinely worked outside the home, then they came home, and they cooked, and they cleaned, and they had a smile on their face, and they never complained about it. But modern women now say, well, I can't be in my femininity because I gotta work, which is a bunch of BS. What do you say about these women that say they can't be in their femininity because they gotta work? What would you say about that?
Well, I disagree. I think it's by their choice. They get to decide. Yes. Other than that, you know, I know some of the top executors who they're the boss on the job, but they switch gears when they get home.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
You know, I have my own practice. Now I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. Thankfully, I work part-time and I'm grateful for that. But whether I work part-time or full-time, you work as a family. And that's another beauty of having children and raising them up well, because I find your load gets lighter and lighter because you got helpers. See, every last one of mine can cook. All of my girls can cook. So, you know, so I don't have to be the one cooking every day.
Can they cook as good as you, though?
Well, some, yes. It kind of depends. Yeah, some, yes. Like the one that I brought to the conference, yes. And then the oldest one, yeah, they're pretty good. They probably don't do as many meals, right? Right. But no, they're pretty good. I got some pretty good ones who think family. You can have cousins over and people not sure what they're going to eat. My 18-year-old, she'll figure out a meal and everybody ate. I didn't even have to ask her anything. So that's impressive. We get to decide. And I'll tell you this, a lot of times people feel they have to work as hard as they do because they like so many things. So really, it's about, you have to ask yourself what's really important. See, me, I value the family time. I could go and work and make a buttload of money working full time at the rate I pay, but I don't, because there are more things that are valuable to me than my time away. See, I get fulfillment and joy and everything being involved and being a part because I'm thinking about my generations.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So I just think if we're better with our money can go further and we don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, right. What does it mean to you to be a remnant woman? I want you to hold that comment. Let it marinate a little bit. But what does it mean to be a remnant woman?
Something that I stand on. It's been time tested and true for me and my household. My mate and I, we've been wed for 31 years. We live in harmony. We live in peace. We have 5 offspring whom we've homeschooled from ages 16 through 25. And so we have something special. And although I say special, it ought not to be special. It ought to be regular. However, it's not something that we see day to day. So one of the things that we do is coaching and counseling for other couples and letting them know what's possible. As they say, different strokes for different folks. People have to decide what works for them. But as it relates to what I perceive to be a God-given order to family, as it relates to husband, wives, children, I stand on it and I'm living it at its best. Now, interestingly, although I live it, it's not what I was privy to in my upbringing. Yes, now that's maybe surprising, but I was not privy to that. Now, my mom and dad were wed when I was conceived and born. However, I was reared in a single parent family. So everything that you may see or that we represent were things that I desired and things I sought after. Now, although we've been wed for 31 years, between year 6 and 7, when we conceived my first child, that was a very difficult, very, very challenging year for us. And the thing that helped us to get through that challenging year was development. That's when we really started the pursuit of personal development. We went through like a retreat for couples. We learned the blueprint for how to be successful in relationships. Then we became part of the ministry team for 14 years, 13, 14 years, where we helped prepare the conferences for other couples. From there, we started to undergo business development for about 8 years. I would say that relationships and relationship success is an art. It's not something that just happens. And
so it's an art, and that's something you and I, Brock, talked about earlier. It's a yin and yang dynamic. It's like a melange. A melange is the amalgamation of molding into one. It's like a beautiful dance. I tell couples when I do couples therapy, in science, I remember this in science, it's something called a symbiotic or a symbiosis. It's a symbiotic relationship. It basically means that he benefits and you benefit. It's consistent with the Godhead. Jesus said, I've glorified the Father, but the Father also has glorified me. It was a symbiotic relationship. He glorified the Father through his obedience, but then the Father glorified him because he gave him the keys to the kingdom. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. I take care of Chief take care of me. And men and women don't understand it, Brock. It's so simple. The more you praise your man, I'm not talking about a dusty man. I'm not talking about a man that's have not shown himself to be worthy, but a man like your husband that's been an exemplar of excellence. The more you shower him with praise, the more you bless him, the more you speak life into him with your femininity, your touch, and your kindness and nutritional meals, and do your intimacy of your words, but also the intimacy of your body as an art of expression, because sex is ministry. The more that man want to do.
Yes. Oh,
the
yes.
more that man sing that old gospel hymn, I think I'll run on and see what the end gonna be. Get me in his car singing that song. I think I'll go run on Brock and see what the end gonna be. Because he knows that his wife is taking good care of him. How would you and Chief respond to the art? Because you guys do couples ministry together. Starting with Chief, what's been some of the blessings of trying to implement what you're trying to implement, but also some of the pitfalls? And then to you, Brock. Go ahead, sir.
Well, as we coach couples and put on small conferences, one of the things that the biggest hindrance that many people have is, again, it depends on a man and woman's worldview, because what many people have lost is a healthy level of respect and honor for nature. Okay. Right. And when I say nature, because there are different laws, and there's laws. So you have the what they call, for lack of a better term, I call God's law. Then you have natural law, and then you have a man's law. Okay, and so and those and in each one of those laws, there are different kingdoms, and so we have to understand. And what many people have lost is the ability to understand what is the nature of a man and what is the nature of a woman.
Right.
And they don't comprehend it. Many of us don't comprehend what is that nature of a man, what's the nature of a woman. And you see many people today, or many famous people, trying to force or trying to change their offspring to say, oh no, well, this, even though he grew up, he was a man, he has an XY chromosome, but we're going to try to make him into a woman. They're not comprehending what is the nature of a thing. So therefore you're messing it up, you're destroying it. And it's not going to be around too long because you're abusing it. So what the thing is that, and so many a times those natures are what things are distorted, and many people don't have because they don't understand who the creator is, whether they want to call him Allah or Jehovah or Jesus Christ or what have you. The issue is that they really don't believe. And when I say they don't believe, that means they don't trust that great creator, the creator who made us all. They don't they don't trust him, because if they trusted him, or they trust her, some people say God's a her, fine, whatever you want to say, but they don't trust it. And so therefore, if they don't trust, what happens is that they are not able to do their best. Because if they don't trust, you see, one here or I try to be the best man that I can ever be, period.
Right.
It doesn't matter what she does. Now, it does matter what she does when it comes to our trust relationship.
Right.
That's another thing too. Back in the day, people had a level in the comprehension of trust. What is a trust? Today, we look at trust as a piece of paper. It's not a piece of paper. The Creator said that, hey, according to Adam, he was the trustee of the earth, but he was also the beneficiary of it.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to benefit from it as well. Well, there was a trust that was broken when they quote unquote sinned. There's a trust that was broken, so therefore there had to be a cost to that. Today, people, they keep on breaking the trust, and they don't think there should be any cost to it.
Wow.
But there's going to be a cost to the trust being broken. It's not that the individual won't be forgiven, but there's still going to be a cost.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're 100% correct. People tend to scapegoat them having to go through the what they went through. You're correct. People think when they come to faith, when God forgave me, no, when God can forgive you, but you still gonna reap what you sow, me, you, or anybody else. Yeah, okay, well, the Lord forgave you, fine, and God forgave you because He give you grace in your sentence potentially, if according to His divine purpose. But you're gonna still reap what you sow. But people think because they're a believer now, all of a sudden everything just get washed away, and your sins are washed away. But you still gotta pay to the debt of the law of the land that you went through, because we are what's called trichotomous beings. We're soul, body, and spirit. We're integrated beings. We're 3 in 1, 1 in 3, just like the Creator. We're 3 in 1, which is a theophany of the Godhead, but we're 3 in 1 and we're 1 in 3. And folks just don't understand it. And when you try to convey it to them, Chief, they get into feelings, or they get mad, or they use ad hominems, or they try to obfuscate because they don't want to deal with the consequences. And it's a problem. And so Lulu Bing said, shout out to that dear sister, her good husband, good friend of mine. She said, historically, mid-20th century Black Americans had higher marriage rates before the 1950s. Black marriage were comparably slightly higher than whites. And I think a lot of that, Chief, was that because Black men and Black women had to be together due to Jim Crow racism. What would you say about that?
Oh, it's 100% true. Not only did that happen, but when we go back, there's an excellent, when we go back into history, I'm a history buff as well, okay? I love history and law. So when we go back to the laws, particularly dealing with the 1964 Civil Rights Act, it's very important to look and see what happened at that point. And then that's when we had more of certain things open up, such as welfare for melanated families. So when that happened, they had the choice. But the issue is that women are many a times are the controller of society, meaning that they're the one that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, as they would say, right? Is that they say that. But the whole thing is that the women, they have to bring the culture. Kevin Samuels talked about it many a times. The women bring the culture. And so they lost sight of, now again, I have to say this to the men. The men did not take time to sit down and comprehend. Many men should have come together and should have had a society and understand in that society, hey, we're building our society and these are the tenets of our society.
Yes, sir. Right. I see
that.
That's right.
Where we, and if we were back then and knew what to do back then, which is something that we are doing today. And that's something that the conclave is addressing here today. So when we're dealing with those issues, what happened is that many of the women, they decided, hey, we're going to go with the welfare situation, and as opposed to dealing with the man. So they transferred that out. And so that became a very big issue again when we were coming up, which was very shortly thereafter, after the 60s. But then you had the area where it said, hey, get your education, get your education, get your education. And therefore, because you get your education, we don't have to deal with men any longer. Well, that was a huge fallacy. And we're seeing the repercussions of that all playing throughout society here today.
Yes, sir. I want to show you in Brock something before we get back to the video, because that is very true and very powerful. Shout out to Ray Hammer for showing me this. Let me show you guys something. Y'all tell me what y'all think. And this is the minimization, Brock and Chief, that I talked about of masculinity. These men go on these shows denigrating themselves by these entitled narcissistic women. But hold tight. I'm gonna break this down for a minute. Hold tight.
I went to a girl because my baby daddy did me bogus, you feel me? So
Man, it's a man's fault. Man.
yeah, so I want to go back to find a man because I want the family, I want the foundation, I want one more kid, you feel me? But I don't
How many
like
kids you got?
but I knew that
So how many kids you got?
I have one. I have a son.
Okay.
It's just me and my son. I don't deal with my baby daddy. But I felt like I wanted to say that because for 8 years I've been trying to get away from her, and you feel me? Y'all get intimidated out here by a fucking woman.
Nah.
So it makes y'all weak to me.
It just
Real
make us
shit.
think like,
It
do you know how to treat a man?
I know what I want. That's why I came here.
She here to find
If
love.
I knew it, that I really wanted to still be with my girl.
All right, let's
Watch
take it
your
down.
mouth.
Let's take
Real
it down.
shit.
What's wrong with that woman, Broca? And she masculine, extremely masculine, got on a shirt, looked like with some panties on. What's wrong with that woman?
I just say one thing.
Where to start?
Yeah, where to start? But I would say, first of all, boy, she sure did some SIGN, didn't she? And then they were asking valid questions, and I think men should ask those questions because people are creatures of habit. If you've been dealing with a woman for 8 years, why should they be the first, what they call I'm thinking dummy, but I can't think of the other word, to practice being with a man on. So I just see several things. I think those young men have a lot to think about.
Yeah. You know what? I
think the men themselves. Now, me personally, I think the men themselves just denigrate themselves being there. So.
Right, I agree with that. You said something that was very profound, man. I like what you said. And one of the things that me and some of the men are talking about now, because men are becoming passport bros, men create their own societies. They don't wait on women to tell them how to create their society. Either they fall in line and meet the mandates of what a man is looking for after he's proven himself, because you got to do the work too. Then, we just move on. Men create societies and worlds, and women support them in the creation. But you said something that was very profound about men that should have got together and stood on business and created what they wanted to create. I want you to articulate what you really mean by that. Break that down, please.
Well, unfortunately, there has been a very calculated plan that has been set up. Again, I'm a chief, so there's a lot of history and a lot of legal things, a lot of policy things that I have to know. And I've studied it. And therefore, in the knowledge of those things, it's going to be important for men to come together and understand. And my view is many of the women will follow and will even be correct, provided the men themselves all get together and get in line and do what's necessary.
I believe that. Yep.
That's a very big issue because and that's where now we have to be accountable for ourselves. And that's the reason why I say we need to be the best men that we can possibly be. And focus on our sons. Even many of the women who really have knowledge are going to focus on their son getting certain knowledge and having that men, because a lot of them have focused on the women getting educated and so forth. It's not saying that women should not be educated. My mate, she is very educated. So, and I'm grateful for that. Right. But the whole issue is that when we come together and we do what we need to do, that's going to better secure our whole society.
Yes, sir. Right.
Melanated people are concerned. When we look at the and this is one thing I give kudos to, and some people may be mad at me about this, but you have to understand this. I give kudos to many of the Muslim societies, many of the Jewish societies, and because they're able to keep their families together and in a certain aspect, and therefore they're able to do certain things. Now, not saying that they don't have challenges; they do have their own challenges, but it's a great thing that they're able to do, and we need to take notice of that, and we need to take some of those tenets. Family is the key. Family is the structure. Without the man being the head, then you have the woman, and then you have the children. Without that symbiotic relationship, and that is what they call a sustainable, natural family structure.
Yes, sir. It's very sustainable. And I would parrot your talking point by saying that at one time the black church was more efficacious in doing that. I grew up I grew up in Pentecostal holiness. I grew up in the holiness church. I was a superintendent. I ain't gonna show you my name because Negroes be trying to do stuff. But hold on. But yeah, y'all see me, like the young folks say, stop playing. Y'all see that license? Y'all see that license? I was part of the clergy. I was part of the clergy in my 20s. So I was putting in work, and there was a time in the holiness church where there are succinct differences in the Nation of Islam or Islam and Christians and Muslims and Jews. They're children of the book. There are differences in the theology. But you're correct, Chief. There were times in the holiness churches, the holiness churches actually look like some of the holiness churches in the Nation of Islam actually look the same. The women sit on one side, the men sit on one side. The women were cool, they conducted themselves. And the things in the holiness church where the women wear the shawls or the burqas, in the holiness church, they used to wear that flapjack on their head. I don't know what you call that ugly thing, but they would put like a flower on their head, a prayer hat or whatever you called it. And the women dress holy. They dress like in, what's the preacher name? I don't agree with all his theology, but I can't think of the preacher's name. I can't think of his name. But anyway, he's a well-known preacher. But anyway, I can't think of his name. But you're correct. You tend to see it more in Orthodoxy or Orthodox Jewish and Islamic societies because they are what you call they're true patriarchies. But now the black church has been so infiltrated because the preachers are so weak. They don't teach the gospel anymore. They are being bought. Many of them are paid hands. They do what the women say. That's why you got a lot of churches now, men in them because the pastors compromise the gospel and they compromise the truth. I'm not saying all pastors, but many of them will compromise. They'll say what the women want them to say because they don't want to offend nobody. And they got to keep them Cofer's field. So they contribute to the pathology that men are talking about. That's why organizations like the Manosphere started because men were trying to find the proper safeguards to get their needs met. So I agree with you 100%. And Greg, you're right. The Nation of Islam is not traditional Islam. It's true. You're correct. I agree with that. But some of the tendencies that you saw in the Nation of Islam is similar to what you saw in the Holiness Church, but also Orthodox Islam as well. Just finish playing this rocker real quick, and I'm gonna shut my big mouth. Hold on, so let me do this. Hold on. Where are we at? Where's it at? Where is it?
Not something that's based upon on love or how much I love you, how much you love me. We see that first-time marriages, there's a 50% success rate. Second-time marriages is a 33% success rate. Third-time marriages is a 26% success rate. So what that tells us is there's something other than love. And what I have discovered that's something to be is skill. Being able to communicate, knowing how to communicate, knowing the rules of engagement, knowing roles. My mate and I, each of us are just very unique and powerful people. However, knowing what is the role of a wife, what is the role of a husband. Not that I can't do this or he can't do that. What I have found and what we have found is when we know our roles, and we operate in our roles, that's how we achieve harmony. And the harmony that we've achieved and that has been transferred over within our household and transferred over to our young, to our offspring, it's for everybody. It's for anybody. However, we're not having the examples. Now, a lot of that, I believe, we're not having the examples because we're not looking at relationship as something where we need to go to school. See, whatever your profession is, you've had to learn that profession. My profession, I had to learn, I had to study it. But as it relates to relationships, we think it's supposed to just happen because I love you and you love me. I have found that doesn't happen. Statistics says that doesn't happen. Some of our most wealthiest people, when you see their lifestyle and their situation, it tells you that that's just not the way it is. But what I have found to be the way it is to be able to be schooled in one another. I call it, like with my mate, say chief. We call him chief because he's chief of a tribe. For example, chiefology, that's the study of chief. And I'm Braca, so Bracaology, the study of Braca. And so when we're intentional about that, man, there's nothing we can't do and achieve together. So I'm glad to be here and willing to share what I know with others. Matter of fact, if you want to reach out to me or reach out to Chief, we have a website, bracasolomon.com. That's a way to reach out to us. But just know, if you are desirous of having that relationship that you can enjoy and that's fulfilling and that brings you peace, where you're not alone and having to figure everything out by yourself, but having actually someone there with you who has your back and you have their back. All of that is possible. However, there's an art to it. So learn the art and you can have it.
Right, it's art to it, yes ma'am. It is an art to it. Brocaology, the study of Braca. What is Bracaology, man? I want you to educate the people on Bracaology. What is Bracaology?
Well, Bracaology is just me, who I am, how I operate, how I tick, what's important for me, what words are palatable to my ears and my appetite. And the same for Chief, just studying each other. You know, and the scripture says, live with your wife according to knowledge.
To knowledge, yes, ma'am.
So live, and I do the same for Chief. I know Chief. I know Chief. I know
in and out.
Yeah, I know him. I know he needs some tea. I know if he's hungry. I know what to feed him. You know, you just learn when you love and when you care, you take an interest. So take an interest. So I take an interest in Chief because again, I have gratitude that Chief chose me.
Yes.
I'm grateful.
You should be grateful. I love that. I like that.
Well, I am grateful. Right. And I want to make sure Chief needs her man and Chief is a happy man. I love it when he has a smile on his face, right?
Right.
And he keeps a smile on my face. You know, so it's not lopsided or I'm some barefoot, whatever. I matter to Chief. Because I'll tell you something. When a man loves a woman, that's what my granddad taught us. The granddad Solomon told the girls, he said, love to the girls, love who loves you. Often the girls may fall in love and they pick this one and pick that one, but that one don't care nothing about you. But if you go with the one that picks you, you're gonna be fine. And in the right environment, all your love, your emotions, all that stuff will catch up.
It'll catch up, right?
But pick somebody who has your back. And I picked Chief. He picked me. I picked him back.
Right. And I love what you say about the honor because he finds a good thing. And then the bride prepared herself for the bridegroom, meaning she was anticipating the nuptials of their relationship. She knew that she was, I created a term, Brock and Chief, called the prize catcher. So I might have to get that trade right because I become up with a lot of catch-all phrases. But the prize catcher basically says this, when Chief decided to marry you, he saw you as his prize. You were not his prize by default, but he saw virtues in you that were synonymous to helping him become the man that he wanted to become the man as it relates to building his kingdom. But you were excited because you were caught by your husband. So he is the prize catcher. And he's your catch, and he deemed you to be his prize. So he was happy when he caught you, which was his catch, and you were happy that he saw you as his prize. But modern women don't see it that way. They just think by default because they got a vagina, and I think, sweetie, it ain't nothing special about you. Social media has made a lot of average women think they're better, and they're not better than the average man. They come in by default thinking they're better than their men. I'm going to share something with you guys. I know your time is up, and I want to be respectful of y'all's time. Y'all doing a great job. I'm going to show y'all something real quick, and then we'll probably start wrapping things up because I want to be respectful of y'all's time.
Thank you.
But men don't trust women, Brock and Chief. They don't really trust a lot of women in modern relationships and dating. They don't trust them. They call them trad cons. That's a term that I've created or I've heard others create. And they're called trad cons. Basically, they're like Decepticons. And, they put on the virtues of being traditional women only to pull the veneer off. So let's look at what a trad con is real quick. So trad cons are very duplicitous. They're very duplicitous, Brock and Chief. I see Chief over there laughing. They're very duplicitous, like the Decepticons. Many are operating at a base level of survival, which makes it disingenuous, meaning they're at a base level of survival, so they only want a man because they're tired of having to pay all the bills. They have a zeal without knowledge, like you talked about Bracaology and Chiefology. They have a zeal, but they really don't have no knowledge, like the scriptures say about understanding certain things in faith, but also understanding a man. As a true traditional woman, respect order and is silent when her man speaks. They want to change the narrative consciously or unconsciously for their own benefit. And they practice a term that I created called carnal hypergamy. They are exploitative in their pursuits for a man. So let me show you something else. Hold tight. All right, so let's go with Kevin. So tactical patriarchy is a term they use. And so tactical patriarchy was this woman saying that women only, they tactically associate with men and the patriarchy because they're not genuine. So here's the thing about what a pick-me is. There's a difference in a genuine pick-me versus a fake pick-me. A fake pick-me is a trad con. A genuine pick-me is a woman that's not trying to pander to men because she wants to get picked only to change, but she generally wants to treat her husband right. So tactical patriarchy is a term that they've used that says that, I call it a logical fallacy, because the logical fallacy that traditional women are damsels in distress, and it's onerous to submit and honor their men. The assertion that a woman aligning herself is something negative to get a man. The assertion that women that submit to their husband is oppressive. The hypocrisy that it undermines some of the basic premises of feminism, which is autonomy and thought of mind. So how can women say they believe that women can be feminists, but yet they shame other women for having autonomy and thought in mind? Give me your response to that, you and Chief. Go ahead.
Well, I tell you what, it's pretty simple. Again, the people not understanding who they are, and many a times they don't have a lot of forethought. Their forethought is not there. Again, they're only thinking about right now. And again, understanding the differences between men and women. That's the reason why today it's a lot easier for a woman to be short-sighted. It's a lot easier for a woman to have erroneous thoughts based on the fact that man has already conquered society in a way.
Yes.
There are roads, there are buildings, there are skyscrapers. They have these security. They have all these different things which are there. When in essence, really, even wherever anyone's house is, a man came and cultivated an area and took a forest where wild animals were, and then start putting houses and roads and sewer and lines down so they can have communication.
Yes,
and all
sir.
Things. So these are things which men has done to make it so easy. But if something were to happen in society where these things were not available any longer, which is very possible with the way that the political environment is,
yes, sir,
the way that the environment is internationally, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
We trust that these politicians will be able to bring things together so that there would not be all-out war.
Right.
But they are talking about it. If that were to happen, what would be the case then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What would be the case then? Right. And, that's no different than Lucifer when the Most High created the world. And then when the Most High kicked him out of heaven, he was complicit in John Milton's Paradise Lost. He was the victim and God was the bad guy. And this is what's happening now in a lot of these relationships. Men are kicking women out saying, listen, you just don't serve a purpose anymore. Let me show you guys something about the trad cons. But Gregory Scotland said, Coach, you are speaking of trad cons. Remember, we have had female comedians slip into the manosphere and try their best to disrupt men's movement. And so you're correct. And that's why I say I respect Braca, and I know she was a real one, because I just was talking to her casually. And when this woman said, I live my life to serve my husband, I said, that's a real one, because that's not the norm in modern America. Would you agree with that, Chief?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's not the norm. You don't listen, man. You don't hear no woman talking about I live my life to
she's
please
not
my
tradable.
husband.
She's not tradable.
Right. Yeah, she's a good woman. It's hard to find women that think like her, man. It is. I mean, and then and then the fact that they try to shame women that think like your wife. Braca, real quick, I want you to, I'm gonna finish playing this clip real quick before I let you guys go. But what are some of the names that these women have called you? Have they called you pygmies and mammoths and all that? Have you experienced that?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, you never have. Okay, I thought maybe you experienced it.
No, I haven't experienced any of that. And the great thing too is with me, I'm very professional. I'm also from the hood. So
you got gangster. You're a trade gangster crip. You're a trade brother. You ain't from no hood. You look too bougie for me from the hood. But maybe Chief put some polish on you. You look too bougie for me from the hood, Brock. But maybe Chief put some polish on you. So I don't know. You might be a little gangster in you, but go ahead.
I guess I got a little gangster.
You got a little gangster in you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's really it. I haven't had to deal with any of that. Like I said, as I'm having more of a digital footprint and really getting out there so I can really help families, then who knows? But none of it bothers me because I love what I have.
Right.
I want it and I got it.
You got it. Yes, ma'am. Trans femmes, traditional feminine women like yourself, Brock, that are genuine. They were properly trained to be wise. I know you said you grew up in a single parent home, but you learned it. They respect order and tradition, were in part a whole women of faith, and were shamed for obtuse behavior. Modern feminists see submission as oppression, but they submit to everyone except their man. How would y'all respond to that? Go ahead.
It's a true statement. They know how to submit on a job, so you better learn how to submit at home.
Right. Listen to this real quick. Hold tight. I want y'all to hear this real quick. About this trad femme white. Hold tight.
Exactly new. The image of 1950s suburban domesticity has been given a new lease of life by the gals on TikTok. And look, I'm not saying there's anything inherently degrading about being a mum or making nice meals. It's saying that being a woman or expressing your femininity most fully means doing all the domestic labor. It's advancing a right-wing political ideology and dressing it up as a lifestyle. These women are often really young, in their 20s, and they're preaching the values of submitting to a husband to an audience of other young women. The tradwife trend doesn't exist in isolation. It's linked to deeply regressive political and social movements such as Christian and white nationalism and anti-feminism.
Feminism is an ideology which cannot be defended by feminists.
It's part of a wider shift of young people being dissatisfied with neoliberalism and wanting social change.
Well, she's right about that last point. Not any of the rest of it, but the last point anyway. But before we flesh that out, let's consider a few other points. First, you see how stigmatization is perhaps the left's most common and useful tool. Always has been. I mean, even as they claim that they want people to be free to live their lives without judgment, the truth is that they have a very rigid idea about what sorts of lifestyles should be embraced. And the standard is very simple, actually. It's not complicated. We should celebrate any and all lifestyles that would not be traditionally considered normal.
So real quick, there's a lot of pushback. They basically try to shame traditional women. They say it's oppressive and regressive. What do you say about that nonsense, Brock? Because Chief said something that was very profound and powerful, and I don't call it old fashioned. I just call it the real fashion. That's just how things were, and we can look at it from a genetic, like you talking about a digital footprint, where we can look at it through the kaleidoscope of time. That in those societies where the men are leaders, the women follow, and the children are happy, those societies thrive. We have a lot of chaos in our societies now. What do you say about this nefarious attempt to shame and silence anything related to tradition? Go ahead, sis.
Misery loves company.
Right.
That's it. Period. So people have to do what works for them. That's really
right. No doubt.
I just think the other women need to, because women traditionally are family, community, so they have to guard their own hearts and guard their own ear gates so that they're not fed that repetitively where they start to believe it.
Right. What's been some of your challenges, Chief, before I let you and your wife go? What's been some of y'all challenges that you struggle with being a traditional man about maybe people trying to shame you or try to shame your wife because you guys have a worldview that's more
what you got?
Like old school?
You know what? All the men want what I have. And
good.
And I have been asked on 3 occasions to have other women to marry me as well, knowing that I'm married.
Well, hold on. Go back. Say that again.
Okay. Men want what I want. Men want what I have, and many women want what we have. So there have been several women, 3 women, who have asked to marry me as well, knowing that I'm already married.
Really? Are you serious, man?
Yes.
So Brock, they trying to holler at your chief. They trying to holler at him.
I don't know.
They
But he
trying
always
to
tells
send
them,
the chief a sneaky link.
yeah, but he always tells them, come talk to me. No one has.
So what do you? So when you say marry, are you talking about polygamy or
No,
polyamory?
they said that they wanted to marry me. But the whole thing is that I don't have time for any games. I don't have time for any of that garbage. I'm not against polygamy, but I don't have time for games and garbage. So again, Braca is the first, is gonna be first, always number one. That's just that. So fine, you got to go talk to her.
Well, I don't think that's gonna happen because I don't think Brock is gonna share you. So
Nope. I doubt it.
I don't. Well, so is that like a tribal arrangement that you're talking about?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you say that. In many different societies, some in South America and some also in Africa, in order to complete treaties and to do certain things, just way back way they did way back in the day, they wanted you to take on another wife to be to link up that treaty between those tribes. That's not something that we necessarily subscribe to. Other tribes still do that. But again, there's an order. Everything is an order. Even in the scriptures, when we go back to the scriptures, when you look and say, how was Israel even created, right? How was Israel created? They say, well, okay, well, he had two wives and two maidens, basically, let's say concubines, right? That's how Israel was created. So it's not anything, only it became a more singular thing in the so-called New Testament. And when they say that, then there's a situation there. But again, saying that all these, if you're going to be part of the church or be a bishop or this and that, you got to be one wife. Okay, that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's something that we definitely subscribe to. But I'm not against polygamy or anything of the sort.
No, I respect your position. But the only challenge I would say to that, Chief, and I love and respect you and Braca. God did allow polygamy in the Old Testament. It was allowed. It was practiced. But the problem with it caused a lot of problems. The Bible said because their hearts were hard, he just allowed it. But it was never part of his divine plan. The divine plan was one man, one woman for life. That was part of the divine plan. But he did allow it in the Old Testament. But in the New Testament, it's somewhat changed. So I understand your position. I love and respect your position as well. But before we go, guys, thank you guys for coming through. And shout out to the War Report for another $25. These brothers showing a lot of love and support.
Wow.
I'm getting some bougie vibes. Y'all gonna laugh at this. I call Capricorns, so I must be getting some shillings from from Chief over here. I got some Capricorn vibes, like leprechaun Capricorns, because I'm counting this money like Chief. So hold tight real quick. Shout out to my man, the War Report, for that $25 super chat. I appreciate it, brother.
It's the money.
These brothers showing a lot of love. She must bought me some good luck, man, because I got 20, 50. Man, I got 24, man. They showing the brother a lot of love, man. They showing me a lot of love, man. I'm counting these coins, man. So before I let you guys go, you guys were awesome. This was so organic, too. Brock, you did a great job. Chief did a great job. Very organic, it was very organic, maybe because y'all smart, y'all not slow, but maybe because y'all smart. But what did y'all get from the conversation, starting with you, Chief, and then we'll go to Brock?
Well, again, I appreciate you inviting us on, and we do appreciate it. It's been an honor. Again, we don't do a lot of public things, even though we do want to help a lot more families, and we want to be able to help educate more men and women as to their nature and what they can have. We are about building the family, building up a new culture. There has to be a new cultural paradigm. And yes, men have the opportunity to leave and go to many other cultures today. That's a very astute and that's a very clear fact. Men have that ability. Women do have that ability, but it's not nowhere near as successful. Nor do many other cultures are able to, how should I say, appreciate.
Yes, sir.
The Western American or the Western woman vibes.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, we want to be able to help build up our people and being able to help them to get what they need to get. Again, the numbers are staggering. The amount of females. So even out of melanated women, only 25 to 26% of them will ever be married. So, and that's something that when we used to have the highest marital rate, it was about 80% amongst all the other cultures that were here. So we have to learn how to get back to that. It's going to take education and knowledge, and there has to be a total paradigm shift as to the view of a man.
Yes. Well, you know, it ain't gonna happen. I don't think it'll happen in our lifetime, Chief. Sadly, this proliferation of the undermining of the divine masculine has been going on since you and I were teenagers in the '90s, and it's only metastasized to something worse now. You know, Bronca is rare. She's rare. She's a remnant woman, something that was synonymous with women years ago. This sister that's on the screen, she's from South Africa, a good friend of mine, Lulu Bean, and her husband, somebody I love and respect dearly. She's a beautiful couple. You both make marriage look good, and she understands the assignment. And she's from South Africa, and you know, South Africa is the land of the Noshes. I don't know if y'all know what a Nosh is, but them sisters in South Africa are curvy, man. You know, like them young folks say, they something pressure, man. They not slight, but them South African chicks are a lot of pressure, man. And like I said, man, if I was a single man again, Chief, I'm gonna get on a plane, man. I'm gonna get on the wings of an eagle, and I'm gonna find me some young Titan dynamite, man, because my coins are getting heavy, and I'm gonna get me something young, man. And then I'm gonna take it to the Lord in prayer, and hope I can keep up with it. But Bronca, before I let you. Before I let you go, what you get out of the conversation, dear? What you get out of the conversation, real quick?
First, again, just like Chief said, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. I didn't forget you. I know you probably all forgot you. I said, Bronca gonna get me. No. I didn't forget you. I never forgot you. But I just been so busy.
Yes, thank you. And the main thing that I get is it is so important to build up our men. Right. And no matter where they go, like you said, no matter where you go, you are who you are. So it's more than going someplace, but it's about being something, being someone, and knowing who you are. So I just want to thank you for that. Anything to build up our men, you're building up our men, you're building up our families. And then other than that, our mission is to help families come together and stay together. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, no doubt, sis. I appreciate it. And Bronca and Chief, maybe we'll do this again in the future, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a powerful show, powerful conversation, man. I might have Chief on more often, man. He's been bringing me a lot of money, man. So I might bring him back again. Because he's a Negro leprechaun. Y'all remember that leprechaun from the hood? And he was kicking behind and causing a lot of chaos. But anyway, I appreciate it, Chief and Bronca. I'll see you guys. Y'all have a good week, rest of your week. And y'all be well, man. Take care.
And thanks to your viewers. You have awesome viewers. Thank you.
Man, they showed out, man. They show out, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate all the comments.
All right, be good, sis. All right, bye-bye. All right, be good. All right, guys, we about to end this stream real quick with Bronca and Chief. Let me see. Y'all can remove yourself, guys. I don't know. Y'all just got to just click off. I can't remove you. You got to click off yourself. There you go. You got to click off. Hold on. Okay, anyway, they trying to learn this technology, guys. But anyway, let me remove them from the screen. But anyway, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all guys did a great thing. Y'all showed out and out. Shout out to the #1 sponsor of the stream, man. Gregory Scotland, man, killed the game on tonight. Gregory always showing the brother some love. Gregory Scotland, shout out to Gregory for the $80 holler. Shout out to Gregory Scotland. Shout out to my man, the Quiet Storm, number love from that brother from all the way from the west side. Shout out to him for that $50 super chat. Cash out. Shout out to that dear brother. And then also shout out to man, Gregory just killed the game. Shout out to my dear friend Crimson Cure for 10. Shout out to Through the Fire podcast showing so much love on tonight. I appreciate it, Through the Fire podcast. And listen, Gregory just killed it, man. Gregory and the Quiet Storm. And then also shout out to the War Report for that $25 super cash out. And then also shout out to my man St. James Palmer for the 20. That's a good brother that I love and respect. He did a consultation with me. And guys, get your mind right. Guys, we're going to end it here. I'm going to play a couple more clips and then we're going to take it home. I'm going to eat me some fried fish and look at some football. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all for showing so much love. Y'all guys came through strong. Share this stream, guys. A lot of folks need to hear this stream. Share this stream with other men and women that think like you, because some of you men are looking for good women and they're out there. but you just gotta put yourself in a position to find them. So guys, hit the like button, and don't forget to share the stream.
Hit that like button. Go ahead, do it now before I reach out into that screen and twist your hand like Aunt Esther. Hit the like button. Thank you.
My name is Jasmine Woodson. Hi, my name is Silla.
I'm Karen Watson. I'm Yolanda Johnson from Georgia.
This is BB Diamond from New York City.
I'm Dana Galen, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
I live in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Out here in Maricopa County.
Kalamazoo County, Michigan.
I am a proud African immigrant living in Florida.
I'm from the great state of New Jersey.
I'm Angelina from Philly, and this November, I am not voting for Kamala Harris.
I am not voting for Kamala Harris.
I'm not voting for Kamala Harris.
I am not with Kamala Harris.
I am not with her.
I'm not with her.
I am not with Kamala Harris.
I'm not with Kamala.
I am not for Kamala. I am for Donald Trump.
I am not with Kamala.
I am not with her because she is not with me.
I support President Trump and the economic policies our country experienced under his leadership as our 45th president.
President Trump will support our law enforcement agencies and fund them appropriately.
Donald Trump made me proud to be an American.
I'm with Donald J. Trump.
We need a leader who can make America great again.
Trump puts Americans first, and he always will.
We need Donald Trump.
I and millions of other Black Americans will cast my vote for Donald J. Trump.
I will proudly cast my vote for Donald J. Trump as our next president.
Let's make America great again.
Hi, I'm Baraka Solomon. I'm a licensed therapist over 25 years. I'm also a relationship success coach. I work with entrepreneurs, helping them in their relationships and in business. We are at the Four Seasons in Houston, Texas, and we are here for the 4.0 conclave, Manosphere. I'm here actually in a supportive role for all the men that are here. I'm here along with two other women. We were to make sure everybody was registered, everything was in order, and basically to be a support to all of the men here. Yes, there is a movement. There are several movements. I would say it probably started with what we may consider the feminist movement, where the focus was on women and making sure that women knew their rights and that they had rights and that they were able to move and be about as they choose and that they had choices and that they have choices. Now, as it relates to the manosphere, one thing that I've noticed just in my profession and even in just my personal surroundings is the disparity between men issues and women issues and men and women being able to connect.
Why can't this man see his son? Is she a baby mama terrorist or a victim? Here's why men are scared to get in relationships with American women.
Men, are you dealing with issues like this?
Sometimes unsaved men are good men. And if you just live the life, the sanctified wife will sanctify the husband. Ladies, when he's in the shower, go in the shower, get in the shower, and wash his black.
How would you feel if your first lady dresses this way? In today's video, I want to look at how indecent and worldly dressing has crept into the church. More surprisingly, even first ladies, our beloved pastors' wives, are now dressing in ways that are hard to believe. Recently, I came across a video on TikTok where a lady posted with the caption, I overheard someone in church say my outfit is inappropriate. In the video, she is pridefully showing how she dressed. The comment section had mixed reactions. Some people supported her, taking advantage of the "come as you are" verse in the Bible, which received many.
We are taught how to cook. We are taught how to rear our children. We are taught how to take good care of that black man. All right, NGT.
I don't chase booty. If I got to chase my wife, then I'm going to have to keep chasing her to keep her.
That's right.
You men that chase women, the moment you start chasing that woman, you're going to have to keep chasing her.
Keep it up.
To keep her. You're going to have to keep it up.
That's right.
And once she see you chasing her, she going to deliberately do things that make you run her down.
That's right.
I chase God.
Amen.
I won't never chase a woman long as I'm black.
No.
And as far as I know, God ain't changing my color.
What happened to wholesome American women? What happened to women that more or less value themselves and value their bodies? In this comprehensive show, we will look at the dynamics between the issues that have caused the
said he unto me,
Then the Lord said unto me,
prophesy unto the wind,
Preach unto the wind,
prophesy, son of man,
preach, son of man,
and say to the wind,
and say to the wind,
Thus saith the Lord God,
Thus saith the Lord God,
come from the four winds,
come from the north, south, east, and west,
O breath,
and
breathe upon these slain,
and breathe upon these dead bodies,
that they may live.
So
I prophesied as he commanded me.
So I preached as the Lord commanded me.
And the breath came into them.
And breath came into them.
And they lived.
And they lived.
And stood up upon their feet.
And they stood upon their feet.
An exceeding great army.
An exceeding great army.
South wind, and preach to the east wind, and preach to the west wind, and tell the wind to blow on these bodies. And the preacher started preaching, said all winds, all four winds, said blow on these bodies that they may live. And when the preacher started preaching, the wind started blowing, and all of those dead bodies, they came alive. The Bible said, and they stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. But I heard the preacher said to them, you've been here long enough. You've been down in Babylon long enough. You've been dead and dry long enough.
When my friends go, it was simple. When the ends low, switch the tempo. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, then I strike. I go hard day and night, yeah. I go hard day and night. 1-to-1, no surprise. See the hate in their eyes. My brother's blood money bleed. I got the game in the squeeze. What would you do for some green? What would you do for some blues? Go pick and choose the family the cheese. Some people not built like that. Some people get killed like that. Pressure like water, lights, mortgage, I've been at bills like that. Now I got kids like that. No wonder why I feel like that. Some people go to war for nothing. Me, I go to war for something.
Before there was the Manosphere, I was. Before there was the internet, I was.
When the ends low, switch the tempo. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, bet I strike. I go hard day and night. Money on the line, keep calling. Money on the books, ain't all that. My kids, they'll be ballin'. Got a real bankroll, not for Instagram. My mama on the line, keep calling. Praying for me, know I need all that. Told me it's not about ballin'. Real blessed, but I'm still sinning, man. What would you do for a win? What would you do for your friends? What if this life is a foe? What if it all pretend? What if you rode to the end? What if you started again?
Fire! The kosher.